Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and I'm back. I apologize. We had to cancel last Sunday, last minute. I started to get real sick. As you hear, I am going to sound like complete junk tonight. But I'm back. I'm better. Just a bit of sinus drainage congestion crap, as usual, with this stuff. But thank you for all the well wishes, and so sorry I couldn't do a show. Our guest was supposed to be Brandy Gilmore. We will get her. We got her rescheduled. We'll have her back. I don't have the date right now, but we will get her. We got her rescheduled. We'll have her back on. But tonight, returning guest, and it's been a while, Reverend Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior himself, is returning to the show tonight. It's been a while since we've had him on, but I always enjoy our discussions. He has a new book out called My Life, Transformations from Victim to Victor. He is the spiritual warrior, exorcist, Deliverance Ministry. We've had some really interesting shows with him, and of course we will open up the phone lines later in the show for you to call in. And I have a personal case I just recently got from somebody I used to work with. I might present to Bill tonight with a haunted treasure chest. Yes, you guys got to see the picture of this. I don't know. We might get into that. We got a lot to get into, and a lot in the World Wide Web. We are being gone for 2 weeks, so we got a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Bill Bean, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. Joining me, as usual, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you here. I know Rob's running late. He hopefully will make it. He had to pick up his wife from work, so I don't know if I'll have Rob or not. I miss him since I didn't get to do a show last Sunday, but I'm here, barely. I'm going to try to hold in here tonight. I'm doing better. Yeah, it's just like the constant sinus drainage and that kind of crap. I would have been no good last week to do a show at all. Not at all. So I'm glad to be back here this week. I did not want to miss our guest tonight, Reverend Bill Bean. If you're not familiar with him, I've had him on the show a couple times, but if you've ever seen A Haunting, he's been featured on there for a couple different stories of his experiences from his childhood. And I remember we had guests on, Anita and Chris, that were on A Haunting too. He helped them. I've known other people he's helped. He's an excellent guest. I'm excited to have him on. But we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, in our continuing story of UFO or UAP disclosure, I wanted to cover this tonight from Unexplained Mysteries, which has the shorter articles from the bigger ones. Representative Anna Paulina Luna absolutely believes UFOs are not man-made. As we continued to talk about, they had that skiff, that classified hearing where the representative Congress people went in and they showed them classified materials, and it's her opinion they're not man-made. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network, we are a webcast streaming out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But if you want to listen, I will narrate as best as possible. And Rob is not here, so I have to do the share screen. So give me a second, because I'm a little behind on that. All right, hold on. We're getting there. Yeah, I'm out of practice with this. Okay, there's the share screen, and then I got to pull up the file. Not that there's much to see. I think I have one video tonight, but we'll pull this up here. Now, I don't care if you hate Republicans and whatever. This doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat. Like I said, they're one uniparty anyways. But I do like Tim Burchett and Representative Luna, who have been pretty much forefront on this. We've heard from a number, this is from the article, we've heard from a number of U.S. politicians on the topic of UFOs over the years, and it seems that the following recent whistleblower claims in formal congressional hearings, more of them than ever have been willing to come forward and make their own personal views public. One of these is Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna, a member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. As part of her role, she reportedly attended a classified hearing on the topic of UAPs. Whatever it was she heard during the meeting, it certainly seemed to have had an effect on her, as she's now absolutely convinced that our planet is being visited by non-human entities. Speaking to podcaster Grant Mitt, she stated that she was certain that UAPs are of non-human origin and could even contain interdimensional beings. She also claimed to have been men in black, as she described it, and an intelligence agency allegedly tried to interfere, even cancel the meeting. Recording the meeting, she said, the Pentagon tried to initially cancel the first one. We got it back on the books. We show up there, and when we get in, the base commander tried to basically tell us we didn't have authorized clearance to look into and speak to some of the witnesses. You don't tell Congress that we don't have the authorized clearance, especially members of the House Armed Service Oversights and Judiciary. You don't get to do that. But they think they can, right? The Pentagon. But look, whatever she saw, whatever they showed her in that skiff, that's it. Because before then, she's like, I've seen her interview say, I don't know if they're man-made. I don't know if they're extraterrestrial. I don't know. And then as she comes out of this skiff, and she's like, they're not man-made. So what did they see? That's the question. Maybe she saw this up next. Of course, I am not as quick at the draw as Rob is getting these articles up here. Pentagon allegedly has video of UFO disabling a nuclear missile. Remember I said during the original hearings that, why don't we talk about Maelstrom? And they did bring it up. One person, I remember, congressman or senator, brought it up about them disabling our UFOs. Well, apparently this is not the only time. We've talked about that before, and apparently the Pentagon has a video of it. According to reports, this tape, which was filmed, this is from Unexplained Mysteries, in California on September 15th of 1964, was viewed by U.S. Air Force officers Lieutenant Bob Jacobs and Major Florence Mansman, who were part of a team that had been tasked with recording missile test launches using special equipment. The video itself, which has not been released to the public, allegedly shows a saucer-shaped craft circling what is believed an unarmed dummy missile after it had detached from its booster. It can be seen then firing some sort of laser beam at the missile, apparently disabling it. Now, does this sound familiar to you people? This has been in the UFO lore for decades, that this video exists. In a letter, Mansman later described the object as a classic disc, then the center seemed to be a raised bubble. The entire lower saucer shape was glowing and seemed to be rotating slowly. At the point of the beam release, the object turned into the object required to be in position to fire from a platform. But this could be my own assumption from being in aerial combat, he added. After Jacobs and Mansman had viewed the tape, two plainclothes CIA agents reportedly attended the scene, confiscated the footage, and swore both of the men to absolute secrecy. The footage would remain lost to history until relatively recently, when details of his existence were unearthed by author Robert Hastings, who has been investigating the phenomenon. Part of this, Hastings revealed that Luis Elizondo, former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, had also claimed to have seen this video. The former ATIP director confirmed the existence of the video and details regarding what it showed and in the location of the copy of it in ATIP workspace. Listen, is this what they showed these reps? I don't think so, but the video is out there. This story's been around a long time about this film. And I just say video, it was actually film, shot by our military, witnessed by many, of this scene shooting one of our rockets. Now, I think, they, like I said, they don't even need to shoot a rocket. They disabled all the nuclear ICBMs in the Maelstrom.
Not just once, right?
Not just once. And not just one. So who's to say, I mean, this has got to be there's your nuclear, or there's your national security threat. I mean, obviously, and non-human. I mean, 1964, nobody had that technology for sure, And they have this stuff going back to the 1960s and 70s or whatever. We know they don't have the nobody has that technology, I mean, I think there are a possibility of private military companies now having the technology and hiding it from their governments. Yeah, I think. I think that's very possibility. But with the world as it is, we're still on high alert. We're still shooting at balloons. That's the next story. We're still like a bit antsy up there in the airspace. Wonder why.
They never told us about still the first one, right? Like with the wires were coming out of it.
Yeah. Military fighter jets intercept mysterious balloons high over the United States. According to reports, a balloon which is floating at an altitude between 43,000 and 45,000 feet was detected yesterday by NORAD, the organization responsible for U.S. and Canadian air defense. The object proved sufficiently concerning to warrant interception by U.S. military jets. Upon a closer inspection, it was determined that it did not pose a threat. The balloon was intercepted by NORAD fighters from over Utah, who determined it was non-maneuverable and did not present a threat to national security. NORAD will continue to track and monitor the balloon. You know how many of these things were up in the air before? They weren't tracking them or carrying, now they do. As these things stand, nobody knows where the balloon originated or what its purpose might be. Observations indicate that there is a small cube-shaped object hanging underneath it, perhaps some sort of science experiment or surveillance system. These things have been going up for decades, balloons and scientific experiment. But now we're all ratchety. We're all like, what a balloon in the air, go! Fighter jets! Like we're on high alert. Is it because of what's going on, Russia, China, or is it because something's coming? And, why we have the disclosure, I don't know. But we seem a little itchy on the trigger finger.
Balloons, but they don't worry about, like, the real obvious threats.
Yeah, they're all over the balloons, man. We can shoot down some balloons. We know we can do that.
Yep.
All right. Oh, I think this next one, because that was the third one, right? And this next one is a video. There's strange things in the sky. I don't know what's going on in China, but this next one, before I play, I'll pull it up and I'll pause it. Hold on. Oh, no, pause. It's not pausing. Hide that. That's why. All right. That's the video. There's audio. I don't have it going, though. Residents of a city in China were left scratching their heads at the sight of a strange swarm of small glowing objects that seemingly wafted through the sky. The weird incident reportedly occurred earlier this month in Dinyang and was captured on film by bewildered witnesses. In the video, you can hear them talking, and, of course, I don't understand Mandarin, but you can tell they're excited. In the footage, which initially appears to be some kind of luminous cloud, can be seen above a pair of buildings. However, upon closer view, the aerial anomaly is revealed as a slew of small glowing dots moving in unison. When the video was posted to social media in China, it understandably spawned an array of theories of what the puzzling glowing orbs, which are said to be stretching 600 feet across the sky at one point, could have been. While some suggested the oddities were alien in nature or perhaps ominous signs of impending natural disaster, more skeptical observers suggested the wondrous illuminations may be simply bugs. When I see this, it looks like bugs. But I've seen this going around, and you would think the Chinese people would know what the bugs in their sky would look like, though. So let me rewind this. I'll give you a little bit. You can hear their excitement. Jamie, if you talk, you might get a little echo because I got the audio up for this. Of course, on my end, it's very blurry. I wish I understood Mandarin. I don't, but you can tell they're excited. That's the only thing I'd say. On like initial appearance, I would say bugs.
Okay, and the oh,
But what?
it's looping.
What's looping?
My audio.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. There you go.
They might not know these ones. They're actually geo-modifying insects like mosquitoes to be able to eat other invasive mosquitoes and ants and these other bugs that they're putting these little tiny boxes out.
China's heavily into the genetic modifications.
Exactly. And so they're releasing all these crazy modified insects all over the place, our country, other countries. So maybe that's like, and mosquitoes, these fake mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when it seems high up, if they're bugs, they got to be pretty big bugs, you would think. I mean, it's
and the
pretty
way
high
they're
up.
like flying together, like
Yeah.
those
They
little
swarm like
gnats.
bugs more than like birds. They don't look like birds. The way they swarm, it does seem like bugs, but they're so high up and so reflective.
And not like moths.
No, it's weird. I'll admit it's weird. I would
It
still
is
have to say I
weird.
think it's some kind of bugs, But, things are weird. China doesn't know what their skies. We don't know what's in our skies. And then we're all ready to go to the moon. All of us, right? We're all going to get along there, you think? We think we're going to get along in the moon? According to the Daily Mail, no! How a new space race threatens to turn the moon into the next Wild West as competition for resources could send nations turn their gaze to the stars. So, I don't know if I'm reading this whole article. We're going to run out of time, but... It might sound like the plot of a science fiction movie, but our closest neighbor is the moon, has the potential to become a lawless war zone with multiple nations battling for its resources. Right now, the moon is extremely difficult to reach. No kidding, right? Why haven't we gone back, right? Only one country has ever succeeded in landing humans on the surface, possibly. But that could be set to change over the next few decades. One of the most official resources on the moon is water. Most critical resource on the moon is water, something that would require to produce enough oxygen and fuel to sustain a permanent base on the lunar surface. Beyond that, there's also deposits of other valuable materials that could prove highly lucrative to those who means which to access and extract them. Ultimately, efforts to capture and claim the territory on the moon could also lead to conflicts between nations. This could further exacerbate tensions back on Earth as well. Like, tensions aren't bad enough. But, yeah, and there was a stupid show called Space Force. It was supposed to be a comedy about, after Trump announced the Space Force. It's stupid, but there are funny moments. And one of the best parts of that show is when the Americans and the Chinese have their UFO base, or their UFO, have their bases on the moon. And literally, the Chinese and the Americans are on their whatever carts on the moon, driving by each other, and they go destroy each other's bases.
I never watched it. I heard about it.
It's pretty much it's pretty stupid, but it has its funny moments. That was one of the funny moments. But what are we gonna do? I mean, who owns the moon? No one should own the moon, and who's gonna claim rights to the resources? Right now we can't even decide. Is Taiwan a sovereign nation or are they part of China? Does Ukraine deserve to be independent, or are they part of Russia, or are they part of NATO, or whatever? We can't get our crap act together here. It's not going to go well on the moon.
No.
Just saying. I don't have high expectations for that. And neither does Russia. And I don't blame... Next up, let me get the next article up here. Just things were going so swimmingly. Russia is developing space-based nuclear weapon to target U.S. satellites, sparking security concerns. Eyebrows were raised earlier this week when Representative Mike Turner, Republican, chair of the House of U.S. Representatives Intelligence Committee, spoke about mysterious national security threat and called on President Joe Biden to declassify pertinent information relating to it. More specifically, he called in an urgent matter with regard to destabilizing foreign military capabilities. It was long before rumors of Russian space-based nuclear weapon began circulating. As the scenes stand, however, confirmed details remain thin on the ground. What we do know is that while the rumors seem to concern some of the space-based Russian weapons, it's necessarily clear that it's nuclear in nature. It also seems that the weapon is intended more of a way to destroy or disable NATO satellites. White House officials have suggested that the matter is serious, but it has also been emphasized that the general public should not be overly alarmed. Yeah, we have our own.
We do, and remember, I was going to bring this up with your last article. We already know what happens when you mess around in space. We shot a nuke. Russia shot a nuke. One of ours burned cables under the earth. The other one let this massive bloom of stuff out to where they're like, oops, well, let's decide, shake hands and form a treaty that we're not going to do anything in space like that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think we already
that
have
doesn't last
stuff up
long.
there.
Oh, we do. We do. And we totally do. And Russia does too, and China does. I mean,
Exactly.
that's the next war is in space. That's
And they're talking
sadly.
about Star Wars. There actually is going to be Star Wars.
I mean, we've had a space force, before Trump. What are the ships? What are we doing with the space force? Has anybody heard anything? What are they doing? What do they have? Have we seen anything from them except for some uniforms and a stupid logo that's a ripoff from
Yeah.
Star Trek? No, we haven't, because it's all classified. It's all deep, dark secret stuff, because they don't want them to know they broke a bunch of treaties like 30 years or 40 years ago.
The space plane just went back up.
Yeah. Probably to spy on China and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the name of the game. And that's where it's going. Right now, we're using space as a spy operation, but soon it'll be used as a
They're
weapons
spying
platform.
on us. They have something aimed like directly at, I don't remember what, like right on us.
I mean, look at movies like GoldenEye, James Bond, like the GoldenEye satellite thing that could like just zap EMP and take out a whole country's electrical grid. That's based off of what they actually are trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Moonraker, that's another good. But it's gonna. I mean, we can't get our crap together here. It's not going to go very well in space, especially we're arguing over territories of the moon. Maybe eventually Mars, even though I have my doubts on that. I'm not saying we don't go to Mars, but I don't know. I think we're gonna have a lot of trouble. Honestly, I think with the moon, and a lot of the reason we have disclosure is that it's inevitable that people go there, and that there are alien artifacts on the moon, and a lot could be revealed if there was an honest partner who went to the moon and revealed it. And who's that going to be? I don't know. I don't think China would be honest either. But other countries are going.
No kidding.
Other countries and corporations are going. And,
bet everything they wouldn't be honest.
Mm-hmm. And if there's an alien presence on the moon that's going to react to us going back, that might be more reason why they have to give us disclosure. I don't know. Speculations. I don't know. And moving on, as science moves and we were about ready to go to the moon, we were endeavoring further into ourselves and our brains. Because I got a continuing story on this I want to end with tonight. Brain implants. Several companies are testing brain implants, not just Elon Musk. Why there's so much attention swirling around Neuralink? Two professors unpack the ethical issues. I don't have time to get into this full article on night. But there's, I am so tore up on this. I talked with my boss who likes to invest in stocks and stuff. I think he's getting into this stuff, trying to figure out what company to invest in on this stuff. It could revolutionize, people with disabilities. I mean, it could really.
There could be really, really positive things that come from this.
And it's moving fast. I mean, we already got the human trials happening with Neuralink. Look how fast AI is growing. Well, Neuralink is right behind it.
Do the benefits outweigh the risks?
If it's just geared towards helping people that have disabilities and it revolves around that and it's focused on that, I am 100% behind it. But if it starts becoming this transhumanist thing where you don't need it, but you're going to get it implanted so you can be, superhuman, and you start implementing things like AI and your connection to the internet within your brain, I'm a bit concerned then.
If it starts getting misused.
Well, it also divides society. You start getting people, it's almost the same as like Gattaca with genetics, superhumans genetically created. Well, you have transhumans that are cybernetically altered that can afford those alterations. And now they're walking little encyclopedias and they have textbook knowledge of everything. And, they can interface with things that nobody else can because they're, whatever. I mean, it creates a division of society because there'll be poor people won't afford it. They'd be able to afford it. That's just what it'll come down to. So it'll be like two classes of society, the transhumans and the non.
Yep.
I'll be the non, not just because I'm broke, but because I don't really feel comfortable putting technology in my brain. I mean, that's what Google, look. They got the Apple Visions, like $3,400. They're going to lose money on that. For sure. Google Glass lost billions of dollars. It was over within days of its launch. It was literally over. They didn't care. They kept on investing in new things. And same with Apple, and same with Meta. Meta's lost a ton of money. But they know where the market is being putting that vision thing on your face 24. Listen, I play VR. I am a tech guy. I love the gadgets and games and stuff like that. But I don't want a thing on my face 24/7 and being bombarded. But that's what they want, and not just on your face. They want it in your head. You know, where you're constantly bombarded and monitored, and your input is them.
They're getting the data on you for your heartbeats, your just every little thing.
They're spending trillions of dollars on this because they know this is where the power is.
Yes.
It's not there yet, but they know that's where we're heading. This transhumanist, totally sucked into technology society where they can bombard us, control us 24/7. We're constantly inputted with their messaging and crap, and monitored too. No free will. You think you do, but you don't. You know,
TV programming wasn't bad enough.
Yeah, I mean, they literally got us now with our phones in our faces all the time. But this is the really put it in your face, and eventually in your head. That's where it's going. Like I said, I'm for this technology if it's for helping people with disabilities. I think it could be awesome, and change the world drastically for the better. But if it goes the transhumanist route, if Apple and Google start making brain chips for people, Google 24/7 in your brain, then I'm against it. And that's where I'm afraid this could go. That's where I've seen people line up to put chips in their arms when they first started doing that.
They do. And
freaking lemmings.
Yeah, they can go to a tattoo shop, just have a chip put in. It's basically the same frequency as your garage door opener, and they can have it,
Yeah, I've seen people lined up for that. I'm like shaking my head. I'm like, really? Like, let's be monitored 24/7. That's great.
Just because they can, put these magnets and.
Yeah, but that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is Reverend Bill Bean. He exorcist, spiritual deliverance minister. His new book is My Life: Transformations from Victim to Victor. We'll get his thoughts on that. And I love talking to Bill about all things, especially we get to the demonic and his experiences with that. But he also has experiences with UFOs. Plenty, and has a lot to say about the subject, and I find his opinion very interesting. So we'll talk to him about all kinds of things. It's definitely a paranormal soupy night tonight when we come back with our guest Bill Bean after this short commercial break.
Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight, our guest is Bill Bean. Bill is a world-renowned exorcist, spiritual deliverance minister, and is known as the spiritual warrior. Bill has helped thousands of people all over America, along with many others in 55 countries. Bill Bean's spiritual warfare deliverance ministry addresses anything from curses, blocks, attachments, obsessions, oppressions, to possessions by demonic spirits. He's also known internationally as a known author, lecturer, and supernatural expert. Bean is currently appearing in episodes of A Haunting, Ghost Nation, and Fright Club, along with 2019 episode of Holzer Files. Bill was also featured in a Lifetime movie network series, I Was Possessed. Bill regularly joins George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM and has also appeared in 2 episodes of George Norrie's TV series Beyond Belief. Bill is the star of The House of the Dead and author of Dark Forces, Delivered, 10 Steps to Victory, The Connection, Stranger Than Fiction, Dark Forces Revisited, the 7th book, Stranger Than Fiction 2, Purge, Tales from an Exorcist, and My Life, Transformations from Victim to Victor. Bill has a podcast every Friday night called Warrior Mode. He appeared on the Glenn Beck podcast Friday, August 14th, 2020. Bean was featured in 4 articles in the UK Daily Star newspaper as well. Bill's also appeared in 2010 sci-fi movie The Haunted Boy and has appeared in many TV shows about the paranormal supernatural before. Bill Bean has given over 2,000 media interviews, has been covered in many newspaper programs, books, magazines, newspapers worldwide. We've had him on here a few times, and every time YouTube demonetizes it every time. I don't know why. I really don't. Bill is such a wonderful guest. We could get into so many different topics with him. He's very Christian and very one of the people, the strongest faiths I know. But it doesn't leave him in a dogmatic stance. He's very open and very open-minded person, and but he has his beliefs, and they can be different than yours or different than mine. But respect them, and we come together on many things that we both notice about these sides. You know, I've had my dark experience with a shadow person. I've seen stuff as a paranormal investigator. You know, people have attachments. I believe in what Bill helps people. I've heard from the people he's helped. We've had him on this show. So tonight, I'm truly honored to have Reverend Bill Bean back on the show. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, let me make sure we got him in here. How you night doing, Bill? It's really great to have you back on.
Thank you, Brother Jason. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on with you. And Jamie, it's great to meet you, and thank you very much for having me.
Well, you gave me an e-copy of your book. I've been trying to read it this week. I've been sick, so excuse me
I'm sorry to hear
if I sound
that.
like crap. And I had some nights I just could not read. I had such horrible sinus pressure, but I've been getting into it. And we've talked before, and I've read your other books. And it seems like this is a this is your 11th book, kind of like just a summary of your whole experience is what I'm getting out of it.
Pretty much a compilation book, but there is some fresh content added in the section where I'm discussing UFOs and experiences with UFOs and non-human looking beings. There is some fresh content in there because I still have these experiences today.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a plethora of these types of, I've had every type of supernatural experience that you can imagine in your mind.
I know.
And I continue to have, which I believe are divine experiences now with these unidentified flying objects. And I've seen angels. I've had angels and continue to have angels in my home around me. I thank God and praise God for that. But I've also seen demons, especially when, and look, I'm nothing but a vessel. And I praise God for A, choosing me for this mission, and B, working through me to help people. It's the greatest thing in the world when I know that God's actually worked through me to free someone from evil. And then we have to sit down and put a game plan together for that person's life and moving forward. So I've, had many experiences when casting demons out, seeing, full formed demons and binding and rebuking and casting them out. And I've also seen a ton of non-human looking beings over the years. I've had the Men in Black experiences, the black copters, the vans, the cars, the phones tapped out, you name it. I've been through it all.
And why would the government want to listen to a simple reverend who's casting out demons? What interest would they have in that?
Well, let's think about that. Let's examine that. And I'll give you my opinion. Now, again, this is what I believe to be true. Doesn't mean it's true, but this is my best guess as to why this is. I believe that before I came into this world, that God was going to assign this mission to me. I can't prove that, but I firmly believe it. And I'll tell you why. Because if you read the book, you'll see that from the very beginning, I was in some life-threatening situations. I had a toe severed as an infant. A major head injury as a child.
You fell 50 feet or something like that too and survived?
And then got back up. 15 minutes later, got back up.
Jeez.
Now that's miraculous. I know people that fell 15 feet to their death. I fell 50 feet.
Yeah.
And so I've had guns pulled on me. I've had people
You were a
trying to
bouncer.
stab me and slash me. Yeah. I've had people hit me with bottles, people bite me, spit on me. I've been in life-threatening situations throughout my life. And even as this spiritual warrior going into the homes of some people that were under heavy demonic oppression and full possession at times, to where I had to engage in physical battle to try and control these people and to keep them from hurting me because they had intent. It wasn't them. It was those demonic forces through them.
Yeah.
That had intent to do harm to me. And I'm thankful to God that he was able to work through me and help me to subdue them and to remain in control of the situation.
I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm all interested in the weird stuff happening in people's homes and all that. But, the one time I ran across somebody I felt like was being demonically influenced. Of course, he was under the influence of alcohol at the time, but we had seen a full floating form with the lights on walk through the living room right before this guy came into the house and was talking about, beating our butts, whatever. He was the husband of, and I could feel it. We all could feel it. This guy had something. It was really bad. And, got in my face and everything. I'm like, we're out. Hey, we're out.
Jason,
not, that's your battle, not mine.
When a person is under the influence, and
They're
if it's
dangerous.
under the influence of alcohol, their frequency and vibration is lowered. So all life operates on frequency and vibration.
Yes.
And so if our frequency and vibration is on high, life is good. We're, things are positive. We're moving forward. But if we're on low, it's like the black cloud is over the person's head and everything goes wrong. And so when a person is under the influence, and if it's under the influence of alcohol, they're under the spirit of alcohol. That means flesh-eating spirit. If they are under the influence of drugs, then they are under the influence of the spirit of pharmakia, which means sorcery. So either way, when a person is engaging in these types of things and they're using and abusing, then the devil is going to work through them and be an instrument through them to create a variety of destruction.
Man, I've seen people's personality completely change, I know. And I'm like, is that alcohol or is that something else, And they're the people that black out, I'm saying, after they drink so hard. I've never been a drinker, not a fan of it.
Yeah, they're coming under that spirit, Jason. And it's very real. I saw it up close and personal in my childhood with my own father. And now, having a career that has spanned almost 20 years and helping people worldwide, I've seen just about everything that you could think of, in those cases as well.
It was so common as a paranormal investigator to get a call about weird stuff happening in a home and like crazy activity. And to find one member of that, everybody's experienced it, but every time I'd find one member, usually the father figure, is an alcoholic. And I how many times? I mean, so many cases. And then there are always cases I couldn't do. Like, I couldn't safely say we could do them.
And usually that's straight out of the playbook of the devil. So his MO is to, first of all, infiltrate and create fear and confusion. And then it's divide and conquer. So in those divide and conquer tactics, the devil will send those demons in to remove the strong one. And that usually is the dad. He's the head of the household, the dad. And you want to get him out of there. Then it makes it much easier for those demonic forces to be able to have their way with the rest of the family.
I mean, you hear it in paranormal stories all the time. People have had these experiences in their childhood. It's like, my mom and dad got in a fight, or my dad left, and then all this activity got worse. I'm not trying to play as like the dad is my wife's the head of the household here. The demon's going to go for her. Let's say to really screw things up. But, I'm saying like it just seems like this is the prevalent force here. Because to me, there's nothing more precious than my bond with my wife and my children. That is the number one thing to me in my life. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I don't care if nobody ever hears about Paranormal Soup. I don't care if I ever get promoted at my job. If I die an old man and I get to see my grandchildren and my children and be with my wife as long as possible, I don't care what riches I have. I don't care how poor I am. If I get to see all that and be with my family, thank you, God. And that I'm good.
Praise God. Love it. That's the way it should be. And Jamie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that you started to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's the love.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course. Yes, absolutely. So you have these interlopers, these intruders, these infiltrators, that their mission is to kill, rob, and destroy. And they have nothing but hate and contempt for humanity, period. So those out there who think that they could conjure demonic forces, and I've had plenty of cases like that too, to where people either thought they sold their souls, or they were going to be like Solomon and conjure up demonic forces to do their bidding and things of that nature. I've seen it all, believe me, and I've seen how disastrous that was for those people, that they thought they had a kinship with those demonic forces until they didn't. And when they didn't, those demonic forces started to attack them physically. and create a variety of damage. So the devil will use, and abuse. And then when he's done using and working through the target, he will trash them like yesterday's garbage. And what his hope is that the person will either kill themselves or kill their family and then kill themselves, or anybody or anyone or anything that's in their path. And so that's win-win. He has a belly laugh after that they've taken this human target and created a monster out of that target. Then it's all destruction.
Yeah.
It's a big party for them. It's a big win.
I mean, I watched my father's side of the family, who I had very little to do with because my father took off, but I watched it go through the whole family: drugs, alcohol, destroy families, just everything on that side of the family is destroyed. Yeah.
And why do you think on the liquor stores you see the signs, beer, wine, and spirits?
Spirits.
Because there are spirits with it.
I've said it on the show countlessly. I mean, yeah, I'm not a drinker. I just went out to dinner with my coworkers, and everybody was having a drink but me, because I'm not a drinker, and I know I got the show tonight, so I'm not doing it. And but I feel like the bar we were in was nice. It's the oldest bar in Michigan City. The Ritz. It was a really nice place. They had good music.
That's
and it was really
Michigan
quiet.
City, Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've been there. Love it.
And if you go there, go to the Ritz. It's a nice little bar, family grill. It used to be, but it's like the oldest. That place wasn't bad. But I go to other bars, and I won't say which ones. Obviously, not that anybody cares about Michigan City. But I go to other ones, and the aura is dark. It doesn't matter what they do to clean it up, spruce it up, do what they do with the business.
Feel it. As soon
it's
as
got
you
a
walk
history.
in, yeah, you can feel it. And for me, I stopped drinking about 35 years ago, and I grew up, as you know, and we'll paint a picture in a minute for those.
Yeah, I do want to get into
who
this.
Don't know, but I grew up on the streets. I had to quit school in the 8th grade and lie about my age. I went to work for a construction company, and I grew up on the streets. And I drank and I used drugs, and I was violent, and I was not a good person. And but it was all out of a concerted effort by the devil to destroy me before I could get to where God wanted and needed me to be, in the position as a spiritual warrior helping people. It all makes sense to me now.
Yeah, you're one of the things too. It seems like you're getting into this book too is the generational curses. Because you're really diving in deep to how get into your family's history. I don't know how much you want to give away of the book tonight, so I didn't want to say too much. But I find the generational curses really interesting. I've actually known some people who believed their family had a generational curse. I knew two different women. One that they would all the women in the family would always see an old crone at a certain age of their life that would come in their face in the middle of the night. And the other one, it started with a great grandfather trying to kill his wife and unborn child at the time by driving into a gas pump, and she ended up jumping out and living, and he died. And that date has been a curse for the family because all these family members have died on that date.
I believe
so. What is that? What is a generational curse? I mean,
well, it could mean a variety of things. And in my case, in my family's case, and you're right, I've written 11 books, and in the first book, Dark Force, I talked about the things that took place, and I said it all started in 1970 when my family and I moved into a 3-bedroom ranch-style home located in Glen Burnie, Maryland, in a community called Herondale. But actually, it went much further back than that, because I learned of some information after writing Dark Force from a family member, a reliable source, that told me that over 100 years ago, 2 family members actually did a ritual invocation of demonic spirits to come in. And they did come in. If you're inviting the devil in, believe me, he's going to kick that door in and send demons in. And they're going to create a variety of damage. And that's what happened in my family's case.
Who were these relatives? Who were these
relatives? I don't
relatives?
even know. They were telling me, it's over 100 years ago. I didn't know them, but my family member, I guess, did know them because he's older. And so I believe him. I have no
100 years ago, you got to think the spiritual movement had started. You had the Fox sisters with the tapping, and you had a lot of people starting to get into like seances and stuff. That's what I was wondering, who your family was back then. 100 years ago if they were into this stuff. And
They
that's
may
what,
have been, Jason.
yeah.
Specifically,
It's that
those
time
two
period.
family members. Yeah, they very well may have been. Obviously, they were into something for them to be moved to invite these demonic forces in. And of course, once the invitation goes out there, it will be accepted.
Yeah.
And so those entities came, created a variety of damage and tragedies on both sides of the family. And so that's how the family bloodline curse develops. That's one way. In other ways, there could be murders or violent crimes, rapes, molestations, scandalous, wicked, and heinous acts such as that, that could open the doorway for that type of, especially if something has been invoked. There has to be intent to invoke or invite. So there has
Permission
to be
given.
Yes, absolutely. So there has to be something that was granted.
I learned that lesson the hard way.
Access. And so once that doorway is open, then it's going to require somebody like me, by the power of God working through me, to evict them and to break all of those curses, hexes, vexes, and spells, and family bloodline curses. They all have to be severed. And so it is a process, and it can be done. So that's the good news for anybody out there that feels that they would be under such a thing. These things can be broken, including the contract with the devil. I have had many people throughout my career that have made these deals with the devil, and God has worked through me to break those fraudulent contracts. Because, if Yahweh, the creator of the universe, created everything, which means us, then we belong to him. We don't belong to the devil. So he has no right to make an offer to someone that they could sell their soul to him, because
It's not theirs
our
to
soul
sell.
is not right.
Right.
It belongs to the creator of the universe. So,
Right.
so it's all smoke and mirrors, and people do fall for it. And then they feel like there's no way out. Once they've made that deal, then they are bond servant, and they might as well be in shackles and chains. And now they're going to be subservient and take direction. And it's just a downward spiral from there. So I've seen these things so many times throughout my lifetime and career, but I'm happy to tell you that God has worked through me so many times to break those chains and deliver those people from evil.
I'm an Art Bell fan. Obviously, listen to the format of the show, you can probably tell. But I used to, eat up like everybody else, like his Malachi Martin interviews. And Malachi Martin used to really scare me when he'd talk about, he could be sensational, it's Malachi Martin, but he was serious when he'd talk about people who made deals with the devil or pacts with the devil, that they were real, and that some people were perfectly possessed. You know what I'm saying? They were good with it. You know what I'm saying? We showed a video on here when I first started this show years ago. Remember this, Jamie? The guy tries to talk about indwelling and like welcoming the demon in and like working with it. And the guy had a whole video on it. It was like explaining about how it works and all that stuff. And you wonder about all the, I know we've gotten into this conversation before, but Hollywood and all the different, everybody's talking about the Taylor Swift Super Bowl crap. I could care. I really could care. I don't
I'd
care
rather
about
stick
NFL
needles
Super
in
Bowl.
my eyes. Yeah.
But I will bring up is her little spice something. The one that looked like little Orphan Annie in the
that's her good
throwing
friend.
up all these devil, like throwing up these. I've seen it. It does look like she's
Isn't it amazing that she knew the camera was going to come to her at the moment that she was invoking
Every
the devil?
time the camera came, she was flashing those symbols.
And there's another video where that same person, little Orphan Annie, was receiving an award somewhere, and Taylor Swift's out in the audience. And this girl says she thanks God, and Taylor Swift's going, "No, you don't," shaking her head. I've always wondered, Anton LaVey in the '60s came out with the Satanic Bible. You know what I'm saying? He was a showman. It was a lot of show, a lot of
but he was
a lot of bull.
That goes deep though, Jason. Because
it does.
there are those in the military-industrial complex that created him and gave him.
That's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting into. You cut to the chase.
All right.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Look at how he got. They needed a outlet in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to get a bunch of Hollywood stars to be, who were rebellious in the '60s? We're talking about Sammy Davis Jr., James Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe.
Correct.
These top names that got involved with Anton LaVey. There were easily
many more. Yes.
many more that got involved with him. That they set up this psyop within Hollywood to make a secret cult.
Correct.
Have you seen Taylor's video or part of her act when she's going around doing a full, they're calling it like a witch ritual or satanic ritual, where so what they're doing is just flashing these images to the kids more and more. The FBI is.
This is all invoking.
Buying Bibles right now.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Jamie. This is all the spirit. Well, it's the spirit of rebellion. It's the spirit of selfishness, and it is invoking and it is teaching these kids to invoke through these ritualistic types of things because they see this and they want to live it. And unfortunately, we live. Go ahead, Jamie. I'm sorry.
And they want to separate us from our Creator.
Correct. You're absolutely right. That's what this is all about. And so I could be a millionaire right now. You guys wouldn't believe the opportunities that I have turned down in the entertainment industry, TV shows, movies. You wouldn't believe it. And some people say, you're so stupid. How could you turn? Well, if that's what you want to believe, that I'm stupid because
you have dignity.
I turned down Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. That's fine for the average person to believe that. But let me tell you something. I wouldn't, if someone put a blank check here on my desk right now and said, you just fill in the number and you're going to be the biggest thing going, we're going to make you bigger than Taylor Swift. I'd throw that person out of here. I'd rip the check out. I don't want it because I know this for a fact that you are not going to be in those high places unless you are sold out to that satanic brotherhood. I don't care who you are. That goes for anybody in the entertainment industry, sports, professional sports. I can't even watch anymore because these are
me neither.
It's sports entertainment. These are predetermined outcomes. Yeah, the players play, they play hard, they get injured, but these are predetermined out. They know.
Well, look at this.
They probably already know who's going to win that Super Bowl next year.
Look at this. Months and months and months before the season of the NFL started, who did they pick? Who did Pfizer pick? I know this is really. I blame you for the unmonetization for YouTube, but it's all me. I goaded on. But look who Pfizer, what football player they picked.
Yeah.
And paid $20 million to do that. I go
mine. They probably paid him a lot more than that because he's the poster boy for everything. He's the coolest guy going. Did you notice when they showed there was some story with Jason when he got off the bus, he was dressed like Macho Man, how the wrestler Macho Man Randy Savage would wear these outfits. Now Jason's running around wearing these Macho Man outfits and all this. He's the biggest star going. And see what I mean? When you're down with the brotherhood, just like him and Taylor, they're the biggest things going right now.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever saw the? This conspiracy is 7 years old now. But when people notice that Taylor Swift looks like Anton LaVey's daughter, Lena LaVey.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I don't know, and I could never prove one way or the other, but I will say this through studies that a lot of these people. So if you really wanted to take a deep dive, a lot of these presidents, which I believe are selected, not elected, they're all related
illegitimate children. It's totally Game of Thrones.
And a lot of these stars, they are all offspring of offspring. So there's a lot of connections, a lot of people related into this cult. And so what has happened here? And the devil is very clever in what he has done to dumb the people down, the general public. And I'm sorry to say this because I love people. I'm not against anybody, but I'm just speaking the truth. Our society is dumbed down to the point that you could feed them just about anything and everything, and they'll go for it except for the truth. They vilify people like me and you guys that speak the truth. They don't want the truth. They want to be in their own little box, and they want to be spoon-fed everything, and they want to be led everywhere, and they want to have their heroes, and they want to have just everything, the little pat on the head, and they're quite content with that. But the devil's very clever, and this has been a very long evolving plan. I believe it started in full force in the mid 50s, because I would say between 1950 and 1955, that would be one of the greatest times for the American family. And from 1956 on, it's been this concerted effort to destroy the American family, to destroy all that is good and right and orderly and ideals and morals and values, and replace it with this garbage that the people are fed today. So we are where we are today as a result of those things that took place back in 1956. And a lot of people are going to get mad at me when I say this, but I'm going to say it. I
know what you're going to
firmly
say.
believe that it all started with the launch of rock and roll.
I knew you're going to
And people will say, "Oh, Bill Haley in the comments, they were so cute." Well, kids were having riots at Bill Haley concerts. They were tearing up the halls. This brought in the spirit of rebellion. Okay, so that's where this started, and it was.
This is where we disagree, because I think we need a little bit of spirit of rebellion.
Yeah, but it was designed to get the kids to rebel against their parents. And that was the beginning of the destruction and separation of the American family. And we are where we are today in the cesspool that we're in today as a result of that. So,
this is my defense to that. My defense to that is why I always say we needed a spirit rebellion, because we had, not long after 1956, you get into the 60s, you get into the Vietnam War, you had social, you had racism that needed to be, civil rights movement. You had things that we needed to rebel against. There were things we needed to rebel against.
But it was all a part of a plan to destabilize America. And yes, if I would hope that if those things hadn't happened, that racism could have been eradicated in a different way. Inequality could have been eradicated,
or needless wars.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is all games.
Yeah,
so if
it's all games.
Again, I urge all of you out there. You don't have
we
to
all
believe
lose
what I'm saying. Do the research for yourself, and you will be astounded to find that it's all theater. So what the devil really started to do from 1956 on through the military-industrial complex, and it really goes further back, because the invention of TV was the greatest mind-op that ever took place. That's why TV programming. Yeah. And so the military had an installation on Lookout Mountain. So when everything shifted from New York, the East Coast, to the West Coast, out to LA and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, the military was quite involved in all of it. And they had an installation at the top of Lookout Mountain over Laurel Canyon, to where they supervised this whole thing. They also had movie studios in there. They shot movies and TV shows. People like J. Edgar Hoover had an office. Well, of course, he had an office at the head of the FBI, but people like Walt Disney had an office in J. Edgar Hoover's space there, to where they were best friends. So Hollywood and the government were hand in hand, and this is all scripted reality. So this is what the devil launched, is where we are today. We're in a full scripted reality. It's like this bad reality TV show, and people, by and large, fall for it hook, line, and sinker, because I believe that there are frequencies and vibrations being pumped out into the atmosphere that are having an effect on a lot of people and keeping them asleep.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. And that's why I was talking. I don't know if you heard my news segment at the beginning about how, like the Apple Vision and these things they want to put on our face 24/7. I'm saying that now they want to put I'm really torn on like the Neuralink, like for helping people with disabilities. Great.
It's evil, Jason.
But if it ends up transhumanism, it ends up being another platform for them to be in our head constantly, then it's evil.
If I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were, I would bet everything that I had that when good old little Elon and others, they've already done it. It already started with one subject.
They have a human
show.
Yep.
Now, how much you want to bet? Again, if I were a betting man, I'd bet everything that just like when those iPhones came out, people lined up. They lined up to get them. See this right here? See that? I don't have an iPhone. I don't want one. But people lined up to get them. They couldn't get enough of them. And so it's going to be the same thing with this. When this is marketed as a cool thing that you won't need a phone anymore because you can think to call somebody. You won't need to start your car anymore because you'll be able to start it with your mind. You won't need to have keys anymore to unlock your home because you'll be able to unlock it with your mind. You won't need a remote anymore because
you won't need to Google it anymore. It will be there in your mind.
So
we'll tell you what information's right.
Do you not think that millions of people, especially the young people, they are going to swallow this hook, line, and sinker? They're going to line up for it. And that is the end of humanity as we know it. Because if a person does this and they go, oh, no, they suddenly become wise to what they have done. And now, oh, how have I done this? You don't think there could be somebody on the other end and just hit a key on a keyboard and terminate that person?
Well, yeah.
You're linked into the beast system now. So one keystroke and it's over.
Or turn you into a zombie. Turn you into a willing. But you said you're not a betting man. But my point at the beginning of the show is that these tech companies are betting on it. They're losing billions of dollars on it, but they're betting on it. They don't care because they know where the future lies.
Yes, Jason. They know that the populace, especially in America, is going to eat it up. They're going to eat it up like candy. I'm already warning people not to do it. And for those of you out there watching, I beg of you not to do it, because once it's done, it's done. It's irreparable. There's no fixing it. And the results of that are going to be disastrous in so many ways that you can't believe. So they will market it like, oh, this is going to be so wonderful for the person that is a paraplegic or whatever. That's how they're going to market it at first. But then
that's the part I'm good with. If you can help a disability,
I'm not even
sure.
good with that, to be honest with you. I'm not even good with that, because you are putting in AI, foreign, satanic, fallen angel technology into a person, even a person that is, if I were, God forbid, in that position, I'd never want that inside of me. Never.
The honest truth of it is, if I was a paraplegic and they offered this technology, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with it either.
Even if I were a blind man, I would say, oh, you'll see again? No, thank you. You keep your chips and you take 10 for me. No, thanks. So I see where this is going. And so it's so easy to manipulate people now into anything. And
COVID showed us.
Yeah. And so you think that they're not testing the waters out in all these different areas just to see and gauge the level of control that they can have over the people.
That's what that's old. The Apple Vision. Watch the advertising for the Apple Vision and the whole marketing when that came out. They were showing these YouTubers going out and everyday public wearing it around, looking like total idiots. Yeah. They're doing this to test our reaction to it. Are we ready for this? Can they push this?
That's absolutely correct. So they want to do away with people like us. And I speak out about these things, and look, I don't hate anybody. I'm not against anybody, but I am speaking the truth. I do my best to be my best every single day of my life. And part of that is being a teacher and someone that has valuable information to try and help people not to fall into the pit. And this certainly would be something that would entice a person to take it, and then they are going to be in the pit. I believe it 100%.
I mean, on a world stage, what's happening in the world is pretty nuts, too.
Then the 15-minute cities where everything's run off your phone.
Correct, Jamie. You're right.
But look at, and this is another thing YouTube's going to go, but look at how
Ukraine. Sorry that we went here, guys. I didn't mean to get you demonetized.
No, I did it. I did it, not you. I did it, not you. But I don't know if you've seen like the stuff that's gone on in Ukraine that he wanted to Maria Abramovich, the artist, satanic artist.
Yeah, I know who she is.
He wanted to make. He wants to make her a ambassador to Ukraine.
So Joe Biden wants her to be a part of the cabinet he's got as well. So she's very popular. She's been very popular for a long time. And if you connect the dots, you can connect Morena to all the players, all of them, and whether it is Biden, Obama, Hillary, or Bill.
Well, we
or
learned we
all
learned
of
about
them.
her after the Podesta emails. Remember?
Correct.
Podesta emails and
And who
spirit
is
cooking.
John Podesta? The right-hand man to Hillary. So I mean, these people are all connected. They all serve the same master. And this person, in my opinion, and I've studied quite a bit about her, she is a very high-level witch, very, very high level, and she has great power over these people. And she's a Pied
Obviously.
Piper to them. Yeah.
I mean, how does somebody that's an artist with this really grotesque art, just the shock value got her that famous? I don't think so. There's a lot of crazy artists out there that do shock value stuff. Something got this lady up into every Hollywood elitist's mind. Like, you know, she's throwing these parties where they're literally making fake bodies, cakes that look like a real human body people are eating, putting
cocaine.
sperm in their food to eat. It's just gross. It's, you know, the difference between, I mean, like me and you, we agree on a lot of stuff. I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't call myself a Christian. You know, I don't, you know, I don't have the same faith as you, you know, in the Old Testament.
I'm not so sure I do as well. I'm a man of God, and I don't believe the official, let's just say, I don't believe the official Roman narrative. I'll say it like that.
King James, or
I believe there's a lot more to the story. And I
well,
also
yeah, you do.
That Constantine the Great and the Flavian dynasty created what we know as Christianity
Yes.
today. And that is not to say that Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, that name Jesus Christ, that Jesus, that's only, you know, hundreds of years old, in the 1611 version of the King James Bible, it was Jesus, and that wasn't the right name either. It is Yeshua, which means Yahweh saves through him. So this story, again, like everything else, is a deep rabbit hole, and I've spent many years in prayer and studies about it.
You get in the Book of Enoch even in this book.
Correct,
you know.
Jason. And so there's a lot more to the story, and nothing against anybody, but I personally believe that Constantine the Great, Constantine the Greek, he was known as, not the Great, but now it's Constantine the Great, and the Flavian, Constantine was part of the Flavian dynasty, and the Flavians created that narrative because they were not going to worship what they deemed to be a Hebrew God, Yahweh, so they were going to create their own version of. So I believe that it was in 322 AD, Jesus was,
and they were also trying to bring in the more of the pagan communities.
They brought it all in. They brought it all in.
So it's basically a merger of a number of religions in a sense.
And why is that? Because they would give them better control over everybody. And so in 322 AD, they voted Jesus as Son of God. And then in 325 AD, I believe it was, they voted him as God. And so this was all a version of, and same thing with the worship. So the real Sabbath day is Saturday. It's the seventh day of the week. And so they got the people to convert to the Sunday worship, which is the first day of the week. And how they got them to convert was they started killing people. And that's how they got them to convert.
It's usually how you got to convert. The Inquisition. You know.
There you go. And so there's so much to this story. And again, I'm not against anybody. I am for the truth.
And that's what I've respect about you.
Find.
Yeah, you've always had an open mind. Like, we're gonna get into the alien stuff later.
Yeah.
And like I've had some people. I won't say who, but I've had a couple different very Christian people like yourself not get into the Book of Enoch, and they think it's the devil's trick. And I'm like, it's history. Just like I read into the Sumerian text what they're talking about. You know, it's human witness to something that interfered in our lives in the past, be it supernatural, be it alien.
Be radicalized, Jason. So, people want to talk about radical Muslims and things. Well, there's plenty of radical Christians. There's plenty of people that, if we right now had someone on that was a hardcore radical Christian with us, and we said, hey, let's talk about Enoch or the Sumerian,
right?
They would say, nope. You people, this ain't part of the Bible. Are you kidding me? We're not going there. And so there are people that have had debates with, pastors.
I bet.
And they would say to me, if I don't, because I say it wouldn't matter to me. Is the Bible the infallible word of God? No. And I can prove that. Is the core message true? Yes, I believe that. But men have greatly altered this from the very beginning. Okay. But you can't tell that to a radical Christian. And they'll say, if I don't
I
have
know.
my Bible, I don't have anything. Well, buddy, you don't have anything, because if you don't have
Yeah.
faith, this is not your God.
Well, that's the thing.
If
Like
you don't
I have
you
faith in
got
a higher
nothing.
power. I have faith in a God. Just my version of what you think God is might be different than others.
Yeah.
You know, but I have faith in that and in an afterlife. And I've had my experience with darkness, evil, and my Savior was God.
Yeah.
You know.
And we praise him for it. And so it's just astounding to me how people, and let me tell you something. I've been a villain to some people. One lady made like 8 YouTube videos about me saying that I'm an antichrist, and I'm saying that because I got into the Mandela effect about these scripture changes in the Bible, which are very
Yeah,
real.
that's
Mandela
that's a
effect
whole other
has
topic.
affected everything. And
Right.
those people vilified me, and I never met this woman in my life. She made 8 videos about me saying I was an antichrist, how terrible I was. I was trying to lead people away from the Bible. Well, no, I was just speaking the truth about the changes that have taken place in the scriptures. And I know this because I spent years in biblical studies. I know the scriptures very well, but people, well, including the one that I debated that time, he said to me, no, it's always said that. And I said, okay, so you say that Jesus has always been described as a transsexual. This is Revelation 1:13 that described Jesus as a commanding officer with a gold sash across his chest. And now if you read Revelation 1:13, it says he has a girt about the paps. That means a bra across the breast and a golden girdle. So now Jesus is a transsexual. And so if you're saying
Mandela, that's the craziest of the Mandela effects.
He says, that's right. It always, okay. All right. Well, if you think that, well, then you never knew the word of God in the first place. And that's why God told us to hide the word in our hearts, so we would know the difference between the true words of God and the men that wrote those words versus the false
When do
narratives.
you think it started changing? I mean, for you, this is real. I can't help but get into this because I've read in. We had a show on the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
For you, as somebody who, I mean, since you were, I remember if anybody's ever seen you, Bill, the first time they ever probably saw you was a haunting when they show you as a little kid literally picking up a Bible and smacking the demons out of the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been deep into the Bible for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
When did these changes take place, do you think?
Well, for me, I've got to tell you, and most of this was, I'm always busy. There's always a next person for me. I'm always overwhelmed with people that are coming to me for help from all over the world. So I would say it was probably 6 years ago, maybe even 7 now, that I'd helped a lady in Scotland. I performed a spiritual deliverance over this woman in Scotland. A couple of weeks later, she contacted me back and sent me this video, and she said, "Are you aware of this?" Now, I heard it and I dismissed it, the Mandela effect. I heard it, I dismissed it. I didn't even have time to get into it. And so I wasn't aware of anything at that point, but she sent this thing with a video. And I was really busy, and I was actually annoyed, to be honest with you, because I thought, I don't have time to look at this. And I started to delete it, and I felt that God stopped me and said, watch this. So I watched the video, and the first thing that the man said was, and this is one of the most prominent and popular and famous scriptures out of the entire Bible, Isaiah 11:6, where it says, "And the lion shall lay down with the lamb."
Oh, yeah.
There's artwork, there's depictions, there's, statues. See this right here? Little figurine. And now it says the wolf. And when I saw that.
Yeah, and I've never, somebody, I mean, I've read the Bible, but not like you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I read the Bible back in the day. I thought it was the lamb. Everybody thinks it's a lamb.
I'll be honest with you. So I that in itself, I quickly grabbed the Bible. I have several, I have King James. This is a Holland.
Yeah.
I even have a almost 200-year-old Bible in the top of my closet in this office. And I grabbed that too. And I grabbed them and I turned to Isaiah 11:6. And I have to tell you guys, I felt blood draining out of my head. I felt like I was going to fall on the floor because I know that scripture and I know the scriptures very well. And when I saw that was changed and that said the wolf, I couldn't reconcile that. Now, it's one thing if the makers, Zondervan and all these different publishers that publish the Bibles, it's one thing if they make the changes at the plant and they send that out, new versions out to the
but it ain't
public.
that.
But it ain't that. We're talking about supernatural changes in our Bibles, in our possession. And
You have a
not just
200-year-old
biblical-
Bible. They didn't change that. They
and
couldn't
it
change
was
that.
changed in that. Yeah. So now we're talking fallen angel technology because
Time
the
travel?
devil stole that from Yahweh. So the devil was the choir director in heaven before his most recent position as adversary to mankind. So he held a very high position in heaven as the choir director. So he was privy to some ways and secrets of our creator. And he brought that with him when he came down here. So when you combine that with quantum physics, D-wave quantum computers, the CERN device, and
Then
all
you can
these
bring up
other
CERN.
things, now you can supernaturally, through these quantum physics, launch and manifest these supernatural things to go into the homes of people and into their books and actually change these words. Now, again, I can prove this because I know the scriptures very well. We could make a whole show out
Have
of the
you
amount
seen-
of scriptures that have been changed over the years.
Have you seen some of the, mentioned CERN, some of the physicists and them pictured wearing little signs saying stuff that totally directs to like the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
You know, like,
They know what they're doing.
yeah, like the
And
guy
see, this
was
is in
referencing
plain
the
sight.
Moonraker thing and like, like they know.
Yep. So this is in plain sight, Jason. And again, I love people, and I hate to say that people are dumbed down, but it is true. The populace, the general public is so dumbed down that these individuals, they're mocking the people because they're wearing it in plain sight.
Yeah,
and
I've
the
always
people
said that.
still can't get it. They still
Yeah.
don't understand it.
Like they do it like it's like, it's like somebody that likes to flash you. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing
And why
it
do
to
they do it? Because they can. It's
They
it's
get their
like
kicks
an
out of it.
unruly child. An unruly child will continue to act up and act out. Why? Because they can. So if the parents offer no correction or punishment for whatever it is that they're doing, they will continue to do it because they know they can. It's the same thing that's happening here.
I mean, it goes for a lot of things in corruption in this world and things that they keep doing that are just plainly obvious,
No consequences.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
And the
Epstein
people
killed
just lay
himself,
down.
sure.
The people just lay down and sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. There was a movie that came out in 1987 with Roddy Piper called They Live.
Yes.
And we're in that now. We're living it.
They live.
They live is we live now. We're living that now. And so I really do believe, like what was depicted in that movie, that there is this big tower. And there you go.
That's some spiritual warrior line there, buddy.
And Roddy may have very well lost his life because before his death, he was starting to speak a lot about They Live, and people were interviewing him, and Roddy kept saying, this is more of a documentary than a movie. And he may have lost his life for that. There was a man named David McGowan who wrote several books going down many rabbit holes. And after he'd written his, I don't know if he'd written 3 or 4 different books or even more, but the last book he wrote was called The Adventures in Laurel Canyon. And he connects all the dots with the military industrial complex and the stars and all that kind of stuff. It's one of my favorite books because, boy, did he ever connect the dots. I mean, like Charles Manson, David Burke, all these things. These things are all connected, and they are alphabet agency programs. And so less than a year after that book came out, David McGowan is no longer with us. And that seems to be the theme for the people that speak the truth, that try to speak out and try to give truth. They're not going to be in this world. I would have been dead a long time ago if not for the power of God protecting me and keeping me in his hedge of protection. Otherwise, I'd have been a dead man many, many years ago.
Well, look at that actor, comedian guy. Oh, what's his name? That came out and said, like Seth Green let him know, like, you want to be in on the Hollywood circle, you got to basically have sex with children and give yourself to Satan, basically. True. And the next thing you know, after he reveals all this, he's jumped off a bridge and killed himself.
Oh, what was his name? Isaac Cappy or something?
Isaac Cappy, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, again, when you get too close, and you hit certain nerves, then they definitely want to eliminate that person, especially if the person has people starting to listen to them. And so if they are, if people are saying, well, wait a minute now, this guy actually, I feel like he's speaking truth. Let me entertain this a little more, and maybe I can try and accept this into my mind and break free out of this matrix beast system. They do not want that. And that person is, just take a look at some of our politicians. And you could really, not only politicians, you could look at the entertainers and the sports figures and all. There's death all around them, all around them. How can
you remember
this
the
be?
movie? You remember the movie Jennifer's Body? You ever heard of that one? It came out years ago.
Sounds familiar, but I don't watch.
I figure I didn't think you've
Sounds-
seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't assume you've seen it, but it is interesting that the whole premise of that movie at the beginning or whatever is this band that's this rock band, and they're really getting hot. Everybody's really into this band, but they're not big yet. And so what they do is they have the band members decide they got to sacrifice a virgin to a demon so they can become rock gods, whatever, And of course they sacrifice a girl that's not a virgin, and things go awry, and that's Jennifer's Body. But I found that interesting. They put that at the beginning of the movie,
Well, and then you have Dave Grohl or whatever his name is, with his 666 film that depicted, the band members being sacrificed. And isn't it funny how what's his name? The drummer. I can't remember his name, but he was dead not long after. Taylor Hawkins. He was dead not long after that. Isn't that funny how those things work?
I mean, look, look at Led Zeppelin. And we're talking about bands of people. I've met Dave Grohl. He was a real nice guy, by the way. But
he played a wonderful part as a possessed guy in that film. I mean, he was great, wasn't he?
Yeah. But then again, how he acted during COVID, he can kiss my ass. We got to go to commercial break. Shoot, we got a lot more to get into, and we'll open up the phone lines. I knew this would go by quick, and I tonight, if you don't mind indulging me, I have a case I got recently. I don't want to say a case, but somebody let me in on some weird paranormal stuff that happened. And I want to get you to look at this treasure chest these people found at an antique.
Sure.
Thing, whatever that they got, and now they have. I'll tell you some of the stuff going on. We'll get to that, and we'll open up the phone lines, but we're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419. Or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is the Reverend Bill Bean. He's the author of 11 books. We're talking about his newest book, My Life, Transformations from Victim to Victor. We're going to go so many different topics with Bill. He's such an excellent guest. So many things he's experienced and seen in the supernatural realm. I mean, you can pretty much name all of it. I think he's probably witnessed at some point, and that's why I love having him on. There's so much to talk about and so many rabbit holes to go down. I can't help it. But you guys want to talk to him tonight, you can. Phone lines are now open. Let me make sure they're open here. They are open. Call into the show. Join the conversation with our guest, Bill Bean, tonight. But let's go ahead and get right back on into it. All right. Make sure we're back. Here we go. All right, Bill, thanks for hanging in there with me. So, this book, My Life, we were talking earlier, too, about, we got into what, generational curses. You get really deep into your kind of family history, what you think kind of like tied to this and has gone down your family.
A lot of tragedy, Jason, a lot of untimely deaths. I saw a tremendous amount of bloodletting in my childhood, and was physically attacked by demonic forces and demons between ages 5 and 12 on a regular basis. So, I've had such an amazing life for the better and for the worse back then. And so that little subtitle really sums it all up. Transformation from victim to victor. It's absolutely true. My life started as being a victim, and God saved me and transformed my life and then put a calling on my life, which I very much resisted at first. I didn't want to be this spiritual warrior. Once I was free from evil, I didn't want any more parts of that, but God had another plan for my life. And this is why I say that I believe, even before I came into this world, that he had this plan for my life. And so I was very resistant to it for a long time because I had such a low opinion of myself. But once I started to develop my faith and then dedicate myself to studies, to where, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that I had to leave school in the 8th grade due to the death of first it was my beloved grandmother, and then 2 months and 2 days later, my beloved mother. So these were the two closest people to me in my life that were suddenly gone. And I had to go out on my own, paying room and board as a young kid, and going to work with some very hardcore men that made me a hardcore man. And man, I'll tell you, just being thrust into something like that when you are.
How old were you?
I was 14, working with some hardcore individuals, and so that's how I started. And look, I had a lot of good friends, but I had some friends that were arch criminals that I hung out with on the streets, and I drank and I did drugs with them. I was violent. Could have ended up very easily have ended up in prison or dead. And most of those people are either dead or in prison.
Dead or in prison, right?
And so it's been a miraculous journey, because through it all, God saved my life so many times. And I understand it now, being where I'm at now and being outside of that and looking at it, it makes perfect sense to me. I could not be where I'm at right now and helping others had I not been there to suffer and have the experiences. So I could be the greatest scholar in the world, but if I come into someone's home and I've never had the experience, we can't come together. We're like this, because when people have traumatic experiences and when they're being spiritually attacked, most don't open up about it, and they have trust issues. If they've suffered high levels of trauma, they have. But in knowing that I've been there and I've had that and I've suffered that, now we can come together.
You can bond on it.
Yes, we can forge a bond. Otherwise, it would never work.
That's why I do the show. I mean, that's why I do the show. I've had people in the chat room bonding over this, that we've all had these experiences. I had my shadow person experience that tormented me, took me to the brink, like you demonic, whatever it was. God saved me in that instance. And I didn't feel at the time I could talk to anybody about it. It took me a long time to get it out and talk about it. And I understand that. I couldn't even talk to the closest people because I didn't want them to look at me like I was crazy.
And when this was happening to my family and I, back in the 70s and then into the 80s, well, in the 70s, there's no way. Nothing. There's very few people. You couldn't, people say you're crazy. You couldn't talk with anybody about that. Very few people you had some like the Warrens and some, but that was, the Amityville stuff in 77. Well, while the Amityville thing was going on, we had our own thing going on, which started in that house in 1970, but by 1977, it was in full force. So, and an interesting side note is that one of the Amityville kids is a very good friend of mine. And I actually performed a spiritual deliverance over him at his home several years ago, and God worked through me to have helped him, and I praise God for it. But it's funny how those things come together and how God brings people together.
Is he the kid that came out a couple years ago to talk about finally? Can't think of his name.
Christopher Quarantino.
Yeah, Christopher Quarantino. I was really interested. I was really interested to hear his side of things, because he, I've had other people involved in the Amityville case on the show, and I had Jackie Barrett that talked to in prison. What's his name that murdered his family?
Ronald DeFeo.
She talked to him up to his last days. To get to hear that aspect, but getting to hear his side of the story, talking about how his stepdad was very much into the occult.
Yeah.
That he brought this upon the family purposely.
But I will say this, Jason. I will say this, and you're right in what you just said. However, evil was already there.
True.
And I'll say, because evil worked through Ronald DeFeo to kill his family. And there's
Right.
a lot more to that story
Right.
too.
Right. There
So
is.
just in our case, such as our case, I believe that those evil forces led my parents to that house where evil was already present and
Right.
manifest.
Right.
So this is how you get the
Yeah.
perfect storm of destruction on people and families when you have that type of dynamic.
It calls to people. It attracts. I was
Yeah.
explaining.
And
Speaking,
it's
I
not
told you.
coincidental.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
explaining this to somebody. Somebody called me that I know about this place in Michigan where they're having all kinds of weird stuff. You definitely would qualify as probably demonic going on, but also UFO kind of stuff up in the sky. Let me get the share screen up. I'm going to get to this really quick because I'm just curious to get your opinion because I was like, this is perfect timing because of the guest I have coming on. I said,
God knows
like,
what he's doing.
yeah, because the question is like it all started with it was two male individuals. One invited his friend to live with him, and it all started with him moving in. So is it connected to the guy? And they also went to some kind of estate thing and picked up this treasure chest. I'm going to show you.
Yeah,
So first off,
gotta be
they're getting
careful with
weird stuff like
that.
they're getting weird stuff like light anomalies like this on a security camera. You see this light anomaly here, and then what's up in the sky looks like a big UFO.
And Jason, I've helped a lot of people in Michigan over the years, the Detroit metro area and
Yeah.
other areas of Michigan. And I
Used to be
was in
Three
Michigan
Oaks.
the night that comet
Oh,
came,
yeah.
and I'll never forget that. It shook the house. It part of it came down and hit somebody's garage and set the car in the garage on fire and all this. I have had a lot of cases in Michigan, and I've also had UFO sightings in Michigan. So it's a very active area,
Yeah.
just like Chicago, New York, Pennsylvania, and even Maryland here. These are Florida as well, very active areas for UFOs and the paranormal.
Well,
Yeah, I
when
don't
she
like
first,
that already.
when she started, yeah, see, okay, so when she first started telling me about what's going on about this guy being there, I'm like, well, maybe he's an abductee, you're getting all this kind of UFO stuff. But then she tells me they hear this sounds like a frog croaking outside, and she was witness to this, a frog croaking outside, and then it gets louder, and then it starts to turn into a vocalization of something that sounds like a demon talking to them. And the guy would step outside, and it would stop talking. He'd come back inside, and it'd start talking. And I said, well, what else is going on? Like, what else could it have been? I said, sometimes, objects are haunted. She goes, well, yeah, they did go have like an estate sale or something they went to. They picked up this.
Got to be
this
very,
thing.
very careful. And I'm going to warn all of you now. Scripture says, do not bring a cursed thing in your house lest you be cursed like it. So you have to be very careful. And if you do bring something like this into your house, make sure that you pray over it. And that's the same thing with moving into a new house. Make sure you have that house blessed before you move in, because you don't know who was there before you, and you don't know what energies they've left behind, and it could be bad. So with anything that you bring in, make sure that you are praying over it, binding, rebuking, and casting out the evil. If you can't do that, then contact me or someone like me. Get this done.
These people might
Very
need to
important.
contact you.
Yeah,
Because
please have them
it sounds
contact
good.
me, Jason.
I just started finding out more information about this, and so I'm trying to get more information. But when she showed me this box, I go, oh, that could be your problem.
2 of
I'm
the
like,
11 books that I've written are called Stranger Than Fiction and Stranger Than Fiction 2, and it connects the dots to all the paranormal supernatural activity. Is all very much connected, more than people understand.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just so weird. Like, everybody just thinks you got a haunted or you got demonic. It's just this one thing. But I find so many situations like this one where you got this aspect of it with the box. It could be it. I asked them,
I
did
don't
they
like
open
the
it?
look of it, and I don't like the feel of it.
It looks old. I mean, only thing I'd say is it looks like there's some purposing. Like, see how deep those rivets are on this inside? I pointed this out to her. I said, that looks like purposeful, like cutting into the wood to make it look old, but it is old. It could be a reproduction. But it's an old one because look at the metal; it's completely rusted.
I don't
It's
like
got
the
lots of
feel
dirt.
that at all.
And I'm like, did they open it? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, don't you touch it and don't you open it. And if they haven't opened it, don't open it. But I bet they opened it. Nobody gets a treasure box, brings it home, and doesn't open it. They opened it. I guaranteed. So I'd like to know what was inside. She goes, is it a divot box? I'm like, well, that's a lot of urban legend to divot boxes. This is something else. And I don't know what this is. This might have nothing to do with their problems. I have no idea.
Well, I can tell you this through personal experience, that demons will inhabit people, places, and things. So there are objects that they can dwell within. And when you open that box or whatever it may be, you have now allowed this thing to come out and create a variety of damage. So yes, Jason, have these people reach out to me. They're definitely going to need
Well,
help.
when I said you were the perfect guest, is I thought about, remember I had Anita and Chris on that you worked with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
you
them
know,
dearly.
that was a haunting episode too, and that was all her getting these antiques from her friend, you know,
Yes.
who was into
estate.
was he an archaeologist or something like that?
Yes, and he collected artifacts from all over the world. And some of those artifacts, unfortunately, were cursed items, and there was a lot of evil.
Poor Anita brought him into her home.
Yeah. They went through hell, and God worked through me. And it's funny you mention her because I was just up there, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. They were having some activity again, and she contacted me, and I went up there. And
Wonderful people.
now they have peace, and we praise God for it. But yeah, they were having. She made a video and sent it to me that down in the basement, and this is where the strongest activity is in that home.
Was this where you got the picture of the like snake-like entity thing there? Remember that?
It was the. There were several entities that her son Chris had photographed and videotaped. And one was a demonic-looking face that was down. But yes, there were several entities there. But she had made this video. They open up the basement door. They hear this opening and slamming. It was their panel box, their breaker box, and the door was opening and shut. I could hear it, and you could hear the metal sound. And she said, "Stop it," or something like that, and it stopped. It stopped. So there's intelligent control behind that. And so I went to the home. I had to go to help a family in New Jersey first. And then I went from New Jersey into Philadelphia where they live to help them. It's a very late night for me, but aren't they all? And so I went there and God worked through me to bring them peace. They've had peace ever since. And I pray that it stays that way.
And, you know, I mean, people, I've been, you know, I've recommended cases to Bill. You had one that the person was like, well, why doesn't he come? Because he's busy, you know, like, and you refunded her.
Bad about that.
You refunded the money right away. You're like, sorry, I can't, you know, I can't just put this down.
I really felt bad about it because, you know, if I could be in two places at once, yes.
You
but
can't.
There's times when I'm traveling, I'm going to multiple places. And there's times that if people know that I'm coming to their area, then all of a sudden people are lining up and, you know, this one needs help, that one. This is only by the power of God, Jason, that I can do this. I'm up till 6:30 a.m. every morning before I go to bed, sometimes 7 a.m. And I'm helping. So if I'm not traveling, I'm having Skype sessions with people, phone sessions. I could be on a Skype session at 5 in the morning with somebody from Australia or Switzerland or New Zealand or China. You wouldn't believe it. Even places like Pakistan, India. You just would not believe it. And 55 countries and counting that God has worked through me to help people is absolutely miraculous. It's astounding. I can never thank him and praise him enough for working through me to help people. I am nothing but a vessel. You would never, ever hear me say that I'm some great thing or great one. But I will say this, the power of God working through me has done extraordinary things for many people. And I'm thankful for that.
You know, I find it, I mean, look at, I mean, there's definitely a rise in it. Oh, I got somebody calling in. There's another I got another person on the phone line I want to get to who's also been sending me some interesting stuff UFO wise lately. And he's had a lot of weird experiences. We're going to get to him in a second. Hold on a second, Dan. But it seems like, you know, we've talked about on the show, the Catholic Church is trying to train more exorcists, especially in South America. They've seen a rise in possession. And, you know, like, well, that's South America. They have different cultural beliefs than us and more accepting to the idea of it. Is that same rise happening here in the United States, but we don't notice because we don't have the same culture?
No, I've noticed it, Jason, by my case files. And
that's what I
started out last year was super busy, but the start of 2024 was the busiest January and February that I've had in my career. And I have been busy for a long time. And now it's even more busy. So more people are being affected. I honestly believe, now look, I can't prove this, and I could be wrong, but I truly believe that the next big thing that is going to come upon America and the world is this so-called alien invasion. And I'll tell you
we got to get into that.
Yeah, I believe 100% that this is leading. So let me just say this very quickly. When Satan Hasatan the devil, and a third of the angels were cast out of heaven. And again, he's a son of God. So for anybody that thinks otherwise, well, are you kidding me? If Yahweh created everything, well, he created him too. Okay. So he created everything and everybody. He's a son of God. And he held a very high place in heaven as the choir director. And when he rebelled, he was reassigned because when Yahweh and the Elohim were going to create man, obviously he was going to give us free will. So there was an opening for the role of adversary to mankind. And he was put into that role. So cast out of heaven with a third of the angels, put into the role of adversary to mankind. Now, Psalm 68:17 says the chariots of God are 20,000. Okay. Why does Yahweh have flying chariots? I don't know. We'd have to ask him. I don't know, but I know that's what the scripture says. And they are called Merkabah. So when Satan and a third of the angels are cast out in those flying chariots, they came down here in those flying chariots. Okay. Took human women, had unnatural sex acts with them, producing a hybrid offspring of giants called the Nephilim. The Nephilim were evil because they were part of this rebel force that was cast out of heaven. Therefore, they're evil in nature and part human as well. And they went into the forest and the fields and they had unnatural sex acts with apes, bears, dogs, wolves, monkeys, you name it. And that is the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe creatures. They're beings.
They're offspring of the Nephilim?
That's right. They are the offspring, and they're every bit as much supernatural as they are a flesh and blood being. I've had many experiences with them as well. And so it's all connected. It's all connected. So I really believe now that we're seeing, the mainstream media introducing, these sightings, and now people like Las Vegas and the people in Florida and other places, Peru, now Brazil.
We've talked about all three of those. And Florida one, I don't actually big on, but you mentioned Peru, Brazil, and Las Vegas have been big ones this year. Yes.
Yeah. I believe the Florida one as well. At first I thought, I don't know what this is, but I'll tell you this right now. In my career prior to this, I was a physical warrior in the bar nightclub business, and I was involved in a riot with over 30 people one time, and 14 police cars responded to that. This thing that happened in Miami, over 100 police cars responded to that. Something momentous happened there for that type of every officer in the city responding. I don't know exactly what happened. I wasn't there. But something happened more than kids with firecrackers
or was it its own psyop is what I pointed out, because I mean a lot of the people that came out with stories about what happened have recanted or said, I was just trolling, as one guy put it.
It could be,
but literally they put out a meme about this. This is what got this rolling, and it's just like, did they do this as a psyop to test or catch us? We got Dan on the line. Let's get to Dan. We can get into more of the alien stuff, and Dan's definitely got some alien stuff. How's it going, Dan?
Good.
Thanks for calling in.
I'm going to touch about some of your. Oh yeah, thanks. How you guys tonight?
Doing
Bill,
good.
everybody, gamers.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. Yeah, I was going to touch on that a little bit because I was in a workplace shooting, and pretty much every cop in every city arrived there. So, they thought that was gunfire, perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah, it's possible.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a different age where they do, you've seen what's happened to the police departments that did not respond to an active shooter quickly enough.
Yeah.
How people's positions and lives are ruined.
Now, here's what could squelch the whole thing. Here's what could stomp the whole thing out. If the police release body cam footage and the mall, because there's cameras everywhere, if they release the footage of what happened, the whole story would go away.
It would be done.
This is it.
But maybe they don't want it to. That's the psyop. That's
correct. Something is very wrong there because they're not releasing that footage, and there are police officers that saying they can't talk about it. So something, whether it is a psyop or something actually manifested, I don't know, but I do believe something other than took place there.
So Dan, what did you want to call it?
How the media had handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole shooting kind of kicked everything in gear for me. But like Jason said, I've kind of had a weird life, and you've been kind of speaking my language with the way you think about things, and I had a nasty Ouija board experience in 1996 that caused me a lot of trouble, and so I felt Jason's talking about that liftoff, that liftoff of something coming in, and very positive, and you can tell the moment when that's gone.
Oh yeah,
was pretty intense. But here lately, I've been kind of having a little bit of an awakening myself, I guess. It's definitely something happened spiritually, but in the shooting, I had something strange. A person that didn't belong there guided me away from an area where I probably, something could have happened. And that kind of kicked it off. Things got a little strange after that, and PTSD, you start remembering events from your past that are traumatic.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And then you start putting together the pieces, and you have maybe that Ouija board experience in 1996, maybe that could be related to demons that are maybe extra dimensional or alien. Maybe they got involved just based on my life and my experiences.
It's absolutely
what
possible.
I've seen. That's kind of what I believe, that they are related somehow.
That's how I felt about my shadow person thing. Is like
They
people
can come
quantify it
into-
as demonic, but I also felt it was alien, interdimensional.
It's like they come in extra dimensionally and screw with people and torment them or something. And
You're right. And I see an uptick in cases now with women that are being harassed and sexually harassed by entities now, that there's definitely an uptick in those cases. So Dan, I agree with what you're saying, and I'm sorry that you're going through it, and I certainly would offer my help to you if you wanted it. Just reach out to me after the show. You can visit my site, BillJBean.com, and you can email me directly from the site, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
yeah, I say I'm not really. Besides the PTSD, everything's been pretty done in a positive manner as of late.
Praise God.
I won't go into it here, but it's just kind of weird. But and that's kind of why I think people are seeing up in these crafts, because I think so much negativity, it's drawing them in, and I think might be a positive and a negative force.
I agree.
You should hear Bill.
Crafts, different kinds of forces.
Well, Dan, you've had some spiritual experiences related to maybe interdimensional aliens or that kind of thing. Bill here, you've had some spiritual, positive things with craft in the sky you've seen. That I find super interesting.
Yeah, many divine experiences. I mean, recent as well. And I'm thankful for that. So my experience is the only time that I have a negative experience currently is if I'm binding and rebuking and casting demons out of a person. Sometimes they manifest, and I have to take power and authority over them and bind and rebuke and cast them out. I had one case in 2014. The lady was fully possessed. God worked through me to have delivered her from evil. But my job is not done after that. I have to go through the entire home after that and make sure that there's nothing hiding or lurking in the home. And this was a large home. I'd gone through the entire home until I got to the top level. It was a wide set of steps that went into it would be an attic space, but they converted it into like a master bedroom. And I'll never forget it. I went up the steps. To the right, there was a lamp on over there, so it was it was illuminated over there. Went over, blessed and cleared everything there, and then on the other side was complete darkness. Not complete. There was no light, but there was a window, like a double window over there to the right, and the moonlight was coming through that window. There was no draperies or anything like that, curtains or anything on the window. And several feet across from the window was a ventilation shaft. Probably, I would say 10 feet, my best guess. And as I advanced over there, I came within 6 to 10 feet of this gigantic entity that was at least 7 feet tall, black hooded entity, red eyes.
Okay.
And you could see like these points sticking up past the shoulders. I don't know if it was like folded in wings or what, but I had a Bible in my left hand, sort of, kind of. I had a Bible in my left hand, and I had a holy mixture and shaker in my right hand. And now think about this, what I'm saying to you. Most people, they would have either fainted, they would have soiled themselves, they would have turned around and hightailed it out of there, justifiably so. It was only by the power of God that I could stand virtually in that space, face to face with this entity. And I said, by the mighty power of Yahweh, his mighty and holy name, in Yahshua Jesus the Christ's name, I bind and rebuke you and cast you out and command you to depart. I shook that shaker, and that thing let out a screech like I have never heard before or since. It was so loud that it rattled the windows in the house and then departed.
Oh,
That's
man.
one of many
Yeah.
that I could tell you about, but I will never, ever forget it as long as I live.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Dan, again, if you feel that you need, and I pray, and I will pray for you, that you have peace in your life and you move forward in peace, freedom, and victory. But if you feel that you are in a place to where you need that trauma removed and that PTSD, reach out to me, contact me, and I'll get you scheduled. I'll do everything that I can by the power of God working through me to get that stuff evicted from you so you can move forward.
Hey, man, well, I appreciate that. I might just do that.
All right, my brother. Well, God bless you.
Also wanted to, thank you.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to also say that I enjoy your television programs, and I think programs like that are important for people to see, especially if they've never had an experience or have, or it to their own.
Well, I thank you for that.
People need to see stuff like that as possible. Yeah, they
Well,
need
thank
to
you
see
for that. I don't think you'll be seeing me on any more news shows. There's tons of shows that I've done over the years, but I think I'm blackballed from TV, to be honest with you. And the reason for that is because I had agreed to be a part of a TV series that's currently on Travel Channel, and then I felt like God was putting. I got on my knees and prayed about it, and I just felt like it wasn't the right thing for me. It wasn't going to be good for me. And I actually went back to them and said, I'm very sorry, I can't do it. And they were not happy. And no producer, I used to get contacted by producers on a regular basis as an expert to do this interview or program or show. Nobody contacts me anymore after that. So I'm pretty sure I'm blackballed. And that's okay. I don't care if I'm ever on TV again. I'm just thankful that God has given me a platform to be able to help people and work through me to help people. And I'm very grateful for that. But I don't think I'm a very popular man with the Travel Channel and other
the paranormal producing world. Well, thank you, Dan, for calling in, bud.
Yep, I appreciate it, Bill. And Jason, Jamie, have a good night.
You too, man.
You too, Dan. God bless you, my brother.
Yeah, I recently might do an interview on my shadow person experience, and I've been like, I mean, the people I'm talking to are really nice for this. It's probably for documentaries what they'll end up doing it with. Really nice and really cool and all that. But I am very, very critical of paranormal TV, and like I don't want to see reenactors redoing my life. I don't want to see like A Haunting was great. I think it was a great show. But as we've gotten more into the years of paranormal and the way it's being produced now, I can't stand it. I don't know about you, but I can't stand it.
And I guess it'll sound hypocritical on my part, and I am grateful to A Haunting and New Dominion Pictures. Tricia Dozier and the staff over there. They're all wonderful people, and they've treated me with such kindness and respect over the years. And I've been involved
great
in,
show.
9 episodes of that series, and I'm grateful to them. It put me on the map. But I've had some other experiences with some other shows that were not so good. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'll say it like this. If I'm not a clown, I'm not an entertainer.
Yeah.
I am real, and what I do is real, and God works through me in a real way to help people. And if I can't be real and who I am, then I'm not interested. I can't do it. I'm not a performer, not for
Yeah.
no amount of money. I can't do it. And I guess that makes me an enemy to some people.
No, you're just not a useful idiot. That's what it is.
There are people
you know?
out there that would do anything.
No,
to-
you watch it every day on
to
Instagram.
see.
You see it every day on Facebook. You see it every day on Twitter or X or whatever. You see, I mean, 2 weeks ago, my show got taken down on Facebook within 10 minutes. You know why it got taken down? Because some stupid AI out there thought I was sharing nudity. I don't have the cover of the book. It was a book with a dog, half panther, half dog. It was about spirit animals and dogs and all that. And somehow stupid AI thought I had nudity on there and took the show down. While at the same time, if you go on Facebook, I mean, I've seen things, I'm like, oh, I got to get rid of that person.
Yep.
They're sharing complete nudity. They're
Yep.
sharing, complete pornographic things on Facebook all the time. But I get tagged for something that's not at all. But you can't stop that. I mean, it's proliferated. And then look how quickly people sell themselves out. I mean, there's no dignity or self-respect. Where they're broadcasting their lives 24/7. Telling us how big their poop was, and women who are just like flauntingly like doing like all these things like faking sexual acts. And I sound like I'm 80 years old when I talk about this, but I'm sorry. It's not.
You're speaking the truth.
It's not
true.
appropriate.
And again, for those of us that speak the truth, we become
There's no
the
dignity.
enemy of the system. And I was on a shoot one time,
It's
and
a
you're absolutely right. I mean, and I was on a shoot one time where the director said to me, "Can you be more inclusive and talk less about God?" I said, "Absolutely not." So that put us in a bad way right there, and it didn't get any better from there. But it's just amazing. So if you are not, I guess, compliant, then you are not viable and useful to them.
Yeah. So I know this show will never be corporately owned or sponsored or pushed by anything because they will never put up with me. They would never put up with me.
And it's the same thing for my little show that I
You're
do.
not going to play the game.
Right, exactly, Jamie. And my little show is more of a church service, really, every Friday night. We get together in real and authentic praise and worship of our glorious Creator. I do talk about some disturbing news stories from time to time, but mostly what that's about is people coming. I have a prayer list. It takes me about 40 minutes to say it's over 600 and probably 650 names on that prayer list, and it's growing. And I say every name every week. And
You prayed for me once. I know.
I continue to pray for you, and we'll continue to pray for you and your family. But if somebody comes to me with a prayer request, I add them to my prayer list. I don't care how long it takes me. I say every name on that list every Friday night into Saturday morning, and we'll continue to do so.
Now, we had, Dan calling, so I wanted to get his phone call, but we were talking a little bit about Peru, Las Vegas, because these are things I've been talking about on the show, obviously covering. And the Las Vegas one, particularly when it came out. I'm still completely confused by the case. There was a really good, journalist, ex-cop that covered this in Las Vegas. Not George Knapp.
Well, he covered it as well.
Yeah, but this guy really got in it. Like, he got to talk to the family early on before the media got wind of it or anything.
Okay.
He's an ex-detective, he's a no BS guy. He's never been into the paranormal until this case, but he's in Las Vegas. So he really covered it, and that Angel kid that did the whole first video take, whatever, gave him some video, but he didn't give him all the video, which we showed all the video later that was released, where you can see entities in the truck. Have you seen this? Where you can see the total the gray alien shape kind of, but they're totally pitch black, but you can see their eyes blinking.
I believe it.
But he didn't get that footage. He didn't get that from the Angel kid. The kid gave him barely any of the footage, but then releases the full footage, and his stories change. So scenes are really weird. But you know what? I still don't understand the case, because Homeland Security is who put the cameras in their backyard after all this happened. That's been proven without a doubt. And that detective guy admits that. He's dropped it. He's done with the case because the kid hasn't been totally forthright with him.
Yeah.
But he was I went to him because he was the earliest one to talk, and I can't think of the guy's name now. Doug Papa. I think
Oh,
is the
you're
guy's
right.
name.
Yeah, I did see some clips with him. Yeah.
And I like him because
Yeah.
he's not into the paranormal world. He took an honest
Mhm.
take at this and talked to him, so I found it was a very valuable resource in this case. But like I said, he's done with it because the story's not been totally straight. And this kid's come out with all kinds of wild stories afterwards, saying like before this happened that some psychic lady grabbed him by the arm and said 10-foot aliens are going to invade and eat people, and then this happened months later. Weird stuff like that he
I'm
said.
just wondering if it's another psyop, if this is some type of preparation thing
Right,
that's taking
that's
place.
what I mean.
Because I do believe that this is going to happen. And when is it going to happen? I don't know. But by what we're seeing, I believe it will be happening sooner than later.
They're like
mean,
dry runs to see how we're going to react to different levels of these.
Well, let's look at
states.
Peru.
You're correct, Jamie.
Look at Peru.
Yeah.
Another journalist, I can't think of his name at the moment. He went on the show
I saw his
Redacted.
videos as well. I can't remember that guy's name, but he went over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what he found out was really interesting because, like, the one girl who had been taken and they kind of like sliced her neck a little bit. Her story is what
15-year-old kid. Yeah.
her story is what's really interesting to me on that, because she says two beings or whatever who are wearing like this black like armor picked her up out of the air. All right, so they're on some kind of these flying platforms, picked her up out of the air, and she described one as the gringo. Because they were speaking Spanish, and one was speaking it fluently, and the other one was speaking it like a gringo would. And she could hear their conversation, and they were talking about, the guy was telling them not to put too much of this paste on her face. The paste might have been for numbing her face because they were going to cut her face off because they have the skin peeler
face
urban
peelers,
legend, the lore of their community. And, I see if the military went down there and interviewed her why they came out with like, oh, these are gold miners trying to scare off the community. They just went with that because what this girl's telling them happened. But what gold miners have floating, Green Goblin like flying platforms. They're not jetpacks even. These are discs that they actually step on and fly. If you listen to the villagers, there's no jetpack. They either have boots that fly them up like Spock in Star Trek V. Yeah, me. Or they have these discs like the Green Goblin that hover up and even make, like she described it, like a whoosh sound as it went up. This sounds like technology human and some kind of psyop going on.
But two things that stand out to me. One, now think about this. You're in the jungles, the steamy heat and humidity, and you're going to have all that gear on. These guys would drop over from, and secondly, the villagers were shooting and dropped one of these individuals, and they got back up. And so those are two things that stand out. I go, whoa.
The one guy grabbed onto him. The one guy had grabbed onto him, and then he woke up. Like he saw a flash of light, and he woke up. And then these things have been going on for. I mean, look at Corrales, Brazil. Back in the 70s, where they were getting zapped by lasers and stuff. So this is not
and one man
new.
was killed over there.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Antonio Villas Boas, or I'm not sure
he was
the name.
a
But he
soldier,
was,
right?
Supposedly killed, and very much like a cattle mutilation type of thing happened to him.
They've said that's happened with the military. We've had that, and it's been covered up. But at the same time, you have a story that came out recently out of Las Vegas from a whistleblower, supposedly, is that we have people like who was Lockheed Martin? Wasn't it Lockheed? I think it was, that had their own reverse engineered craft crash in Nevada. They sent in their own recovery team, a paramilitary team, mercenaries to recover it, and we sent in JSOC from the military. Joint Special Operations Command sent a team in to recover it, not knowing it was Lockheed's, thinking it was an alien craft that crashed, and they got in a firefight, and 2 of our soldiers died. So it just shows you things are completely out of control.
But this is, again, goes back to what I was saying about a scripted reality. So there are a small group of people, humans, that are in charge of planet Earth, and they are taking, in my opinion, direct orders from the devil via these reptilian entities that are controlling everything. And as crazy as that might sound, I believe it's true, and that's why our world is upside down and backwards, especially in America.
In Hollywood, the things have tried to like really show this, like remember V, the
I
reptilian
never
aliens?
saw it, but I
But they
know
canceled
what you're
that.
talking about,
They've done a number of iterations of all been canceled after they came out. Like, was it a test, or it's just they don't like sci-fi? But then you look at things like They Live. John Carpenter was fought so hard by the studio. I don't know who it was at the time, but they did not want him to do They Live the way he did They Live. They did not like his anti-consumerism. They didn't like the messaging.
But it
in
hit too close to home. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, and again, that's why Piper echoed over and over that it was more of a documentary than a movie.
But what were both of those things saying that aliens can disguise themselves as humans and intermix into society?
I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to Malachi Martin when you get into the demonic thing. Like you said, these things are all connected about people that he knew were perfectly possessed. That means that there's no person left there. There's no soul. This is a demon residing in a human body.
But
Control.
the good news is I don't care how possessed they are. And I've seen things to where I've seen people levitate. I've seen
I was
the eyes
levitated.
change from
I
all.
know.
I believe it. I've seen
yeah.
the
I'm a
eyes
complete
change
believer.
from all black to all white to all red, and in one case, like a greenish yellowish color with reptilian slits. I've experienced superhuman strength. I've seen limbs twist and turn in ways that the human body cannot without bones breaking and ligaments tearing. The only thing that I haven't seen probably is a person's head turning all the way around, but I've seen pretty much all the other things.
Close enough.
Heard the voices.
The reptilian things,
coming out
what
of
I,
people.
the reptilian thing I've always found so fascinating. Maybe it's because my childhood sci-fi brain with V and stuff like that, but I don't like snakes. Snakes scare the crap out of me, and creep me out, and the reptilian thing creeps the hell out of me. And the idea that they're, if you get into the David Icke rabbit hole, that these reptilians are, it's like They Live. They're here. You wouldn't know them if you saw them. They're humans. He mainly goes after the royal family. But
again, I agree with him. I disagree with him on some things when it comes to faith and his non-belief. But I do agree with him. When he's talking about these things and how they can shapeshift and pretend to be humans, and I absolutely agree with him on that.
he has a belief in God. It's just not. He really tears apart the ancient past and
At one
else.
point, he thought he was Jesus. He thought
At one point, he thought he was God when he came out in his turquoise jumpsuit. David Icke's been all over the place. I know.
That's where David and I parted ways there. But,
You don't like the turquoise jumpsuit, Jesus?
No, not a fan. Save that for Elvis, not for. But
didn't help his cause.
But I do agree with him on some of the things that he does say about that.
I mean, it makes you wonder, about some people, if they're really human, if they're, and what it is, I mean, you get into the history of like the blue bloods and like how much they paid attention to genetic lines, that only certain genetic people of certain genetics can be possessed by these reptilians and crazy things like that. And then they could transform. I mean, Billy Corgan talked about this twice. Once on Jon Stewart and another interview about somebody who was up. He wouldn't ever say who, was a woman that was part of the scene. Revealed to him that she was reptilian. Showed him.
I was going to say not only revealed, but I mean actually shapeshifted to where he, according to him, he saw. I can believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never understand why the day Billy Corgan came out with that, but he did. He did say it. What was that about?
And again, these people in these high places, they know the truth, and they become slave and bondservant. So they might be rich, they might be famous, but in reality, they are slave and bondservant, and that's why they are so disturbed mentally and so obviously spiritually. But this is why so many of them have to resort to addictions to drug and alcohol, because this is their escape from the reality that they are in.
100%.
I mean, you got to ask yourself. I mean, Some people say it's like a self-destructive thing people do because they don't think they deserve the fame, the money, and they get self-destructive. There's a psychological element of that, but man, it seems to be very much reoccurring for so many people. There's very few, you know, that don't
And
seem to be
another thing
swallowed up
that's
by it.
taking place, in my opinion, allegedly, are not only the satanic ritual abuse, but the authorization of sacrifices. So when people get into those high places, they're going to have to give something. So the devil will offer this, but what he wants in return is far greater than what he's offering. And that sometimes requires authorization for family members or friends to be sacrificed. I firmly believe it. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And we not only see it in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, but I'm convinced that we've seen it in sports and places like WWE and things of that nature. Now, again, I can't prove any of these things. These are my theories and thoughts and opinions. But I believe what I'm saying to be true.
Well, I've always said for some of these musicians to get their songs out there, they had to deal with the devil because I think their music is so horrible. Like, how is that popular? How does anybody like that? They had to sign a deal with the devil to make people like it because it's just that bad. You know, I don't get
now
it.
we're in an era of auto-tune, AI, which I think, again, is fallen angel technology. So you don't even have to be talented.
I always wondered if the Antichrist would be AI.
Well, he is going now. Again, this is my opinion. There are many antichrists, and there always has been, and they're currently with us right now. But there will be a chief among them, and who knows? He might be arriving on one of those flying craft that are soon to be in a city near you. And when that happens, the whole world will run after this being because he's going to be the one that can fix it all. He's going to fix everything.
Well, this is why AI is on my
Everybody's
top
gonna
of my
run after it.
Antichrist suspects. This is why AI is because
Well,
look at it.
they'll
Look at
probably
what
use
AI is going to solve all these problems for us. They keep talking and create a lot.
I even
but
know pastors and preachers and priests that think that AI is the greatest thing going and they love it. And I say to myself, it must
But
be
what are we
me.
creating?
Maybe I'm the crazy one.
We're creating a new life form that has soulless. And to prove that point, Google, OpenAI, ChatGPT did this whole test study where they gave AI the scenario where they would basically try to either, basically run the world strategically, militarily. What would they do? Would it try to like negotiate peace or do things? No, every time the AI always went for the nuclear weapons. Like 90% of the time. And AI, some of the things that AI would say when they were questioning it later was, well, we had them, why not use them?
Funny how that happens, right? Just absolutely amazing.
And look, I mean, if we're going to interface ourselves with transhumanism and tech inside of ourselves, that's going to be interfaced with AI. I'm just saying it is up besides Macron from France, it's up there on my high list of possible antichrists, if there is such a thing.
Well, there are many of them, and they're in the political places, and some are in the religious places too. And so there are many of them among us currently, in my opinion. And I do believe
Emmanuel Macron as a person is that I have number one on my list.
No, he's definitely a part of it. There will be a chief among them, in my opinion, that will arrive, and I believe that it's going to be soon. Now, look, I wouldn't dare call myself a prophet. There's so many false prophets out there. I am completely
your eyes are
against
open.
those that call themselves prophets. However, my eyes are open, and even a blind man could see that we are headed somewhere. All of this is heading somewhere, and it's coming sooner than later. So, Jamie, you started to say something. Were you saying something?
I don't remember now.
Okay.
I have a bad habit of interrupting. Sorry.
No, me too.
But but that's what I'm saying. Like AI, it's just like the internet. We have this tool to be able to talk to people. It's great. It helps reach out. You do your services on here. It can be used for good. Technology can be used for good. AI could be used for good. But obviously, we're not going to use it for good. We're gonna really screw the pooch on this one, I think. Yep. And we're not doing anything to prevent or stop it. They're literally they came out with a code recently for AI to make it purposely deceptive. And to see, and it was purposely deceptive. It was so good that they couldn't figure out how to stop it. It's the new nuke. Just besides, see the AI genetics, which is the other big one, coming. down the road, either making genetically super strained viruses or genetically super people. I mean, China's working on that hard. They want to make super soldiers.
I think
all these things.
That's already happened, and I'll tell you why. Because I've met 2 of these super soldiers 10 years ago, and they were not together. They were in different places. But what they told me, I absolutely believe them. 100%.
Now you're talking about the American program for it.
Yes.
Yeah, that goes back to
these things are already
Project Paperclip and the Nazi scientists we brought over, and they ran these genetic stuff going on. Yeah,
So they're already out there, and these people were chipped with all kinds of stuff, and they get messages, even if it's in the middle of the night, and next thing you know, they've gotten a message, a call, or whatever it may be, and they're getting up and going somewhere, and they're flying somewhere, and their mission sometimes is to terminate people.
I've heard these stories, and from people who come out saying they've been a part of this program. I don't know if it's true. I mean, but I definitely know the history.
That I personally have met 2 that I believe 100%.
Well, the history's there for them to back them up that these programs existed. We were definitely using insane asylums. We were experimenting on mentally ill patients, and we were experimenting on genetics and tracking people and twins and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And these were all Nazi scientists we brought over.
Correct.
That were doing
That's
this
where
stuff.
it all started.
I tell you what, it's also where the alien thing is too. I think is Nazis, the early Nazis involved in our space program and all that. They formed their own little secret society to control this stuff.
People like Hitler summoned those dark forces to come in for the ability to have the edge on the world. And so, when those Nazi scientists were brought over, then all of a sudden the PSYOPs began in the military. So people like Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino and others were very prominent figures in the PSYOPs. And I would urge all of you to do a little research on Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, and you will be sickened at what you find, that this individual was a Satanist. He was a part of the Church of Satan, and then branched off into his own, the Temple of Set, and allegedly was accused of many crimes against children and others that he was never prosecuted for. And I don't know if he's still alive or not. I don't think he is. But
the Temple of Set, it's funny, is Anton LaVey's daughter, when she left the Satanic Church, where did she go?
Yeah.
She became a Set worshiper.
Yeah. So, I mean, these people are all connected. And so for those of you out there watching this, you don't have to believe a word that I've said here. I urge you to do the research. And if you dig deep enough, seek the truth and you will find it. But just be prepared.
All out there.
You're right, Jamie.
It's a very big rabbit hole to go down to.
That's right.
We got to go to our last commercial break. Time's going by so damn fast.
Sure.
We'll be back. We'll be back with our guest, Reverend Bill Bean, Exorcist, spiritual deliverance minister, talking about his new book, My Life: Transformation from Victim to Victor. When we come back from the short commercial break, we will also open up the phone lines again if you want to call in and join this conversation. But we'll be right back.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn.
Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday at the live stream with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up.
Do, re,
Egon.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID 00JBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Bill Bean. He has been with us. Great guest. Every time we have him on, we get down to so many rabbit holes. And his new book, we should talk more about. We could get into so many different topics. Is My Life: Transformations from Victim to Victor. I've been reading it. I highly recommend it. I'm recommend any of his 11 books. I've read several of them. It's fascinating to get into his mind and his experiences And this world, you know, me and Bill, we have different philosophies on stuff, but we both definitely are seeing the same things. We all are seeing the same things happening in society, in the world. And, you know, a little worried, but, you know, when things are out of your hand or your control, you can't control what evil people are going to do. You can only do what you can do. And I think that is something Bill stands by. He's the spiritual warrior out there every day trying to help people. And I think that's amazing. If you want to call in tonight, maybe you got a question for Bill, maybe he can help you a little bit, and you definitely will get his website out where you can get in contact with him. Call in and join this conversation tonight. But let's go ahead and get back to our guests. Thank you for hanging on with us for this last half hour of the show, Bill.
It's been my pleasure. I thank you guys for having me on. It's just amazing how many different rabbit holes we've gone down here, and you know, yet at the same time, they're all interconnected.
Yeah, we're both seeing the same things. You know, we come from different perspectives, but we're seeing the same stuff happening around us in the media and society with people.
Yeah.
You know, I'll agree with you. I'll say this. What I know about Satanism, the Anton LaVey version of at least, is about pure selfishness. It's about doing, you know, if you listen to them talk, you can find interviews from him back in the day of his daughter and all the other people preach for the Church of Satan. It's all about, you know, selfishness. It's about doing best for yourself.
The spirit of selfishness, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And,
You're
you know,
100% right.
I think the biggest thing that, you know, would change the world and make the world better is people to do the opposite of that and learn
Follow
to be
the golden
selfless.
rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. Could you imagine if everybody just stopped for 1 second and said, okay, let's try this. Let's try and treat people how we want to be treated. We all want to be treated with kindness, decency, and respect. If we could do that for others, suddenly America and the world changes instantaneously. If we could
but what
apply
are they
that
doing?
one simple thing.
Yeah. What are they doing? They're doing everything in the media now is about division.
Correct.
Everything in politics is about division.
Correct.
You're on our side or you're against us.
Yep.
You know, it's making you hate that other person. I'm talking about both sides doing this. I don't care where you stand
They're
politically.
all doing it. You could take that into religion as well. There's 34,000 different Christian denominations, just Christian. 34,000 different Christian denominations in the world. There's 1,200 in the United States. I've heard pastors and priests condemn others and other denominations to hell because if you don't believe how I believe, you're hellbound. That is radical. And
are you God? Is my question to them.
Well, the devil loves this because it's division. So divided, we are easily conquered. So, you know, if we're united, of course, we're strong. But the devil knows how to manipulate these things, and he knows how to manipulate people. And so we're in division in just about every aspect that you can think of across the board.
What always fascinated me by that is I'm a big fan of Jesus because he was a rebel in a sense, but he rebelled against judging other people. The Pharisees and at the time, you know, he sat down with prostitutes and thieves, you know, people that, you know, his apostles were like, why would you do that? And like, they're sinners, they're horrible. And what he was trying to teach was love and compassion and not division.
So he showed love and respect and kindness and decency to even the very worst of people, because that was the lesson that was being taught.
Yeah.
And if people could suddenly come to that realization, then all the divisions disappear and people would strive to do good for one another and the world would be changed like that.
Who here was without sin? Yeah.
Not a one of us.
Right.
Not
you know, that was his
one of
point.
us.
Like, who are you to judge anyone? You know,
That's
who are
right.
you? Are you God to judge them? You know, that's why I'm a huge Jesus fan because of that. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Old Testament. Sorry.
We're
but
all guilty of something, that I can guarantee you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even in my life, yes, I'm real and authentic, and I try to do the best that I can do, and I try to be the best that I can be every day. But I'm a human being in a sin-filled, fallen world. Therefore, I'm going to make mistakes. And I could write a lengthy book about the mistakes I've made in life, but I try to be real. I try to follow the teachings of Yahshua, Jesus the Christ, to where I want to treat everybody with love and decency, kindness, and respect. I try my best to do that. I try to go out of my way to help others. But
sometimes we fail. We all do.
It's not reciprocated sometimes. And furthermore, some have this spirit on them to where the better you try to be, the more they will hate you because you are not a part of the world. And I'm firmly convinced that the world is under this beast system now. And those that are not a part of the beast system, they don't want in the world.
You're not going to see them on nightly TV or being promoted by YouTube or Facebook in any such way, most likely, because that's not the plan. These people are not the people. I mean, look. I mean, even people that you would probably think were part of the satanic cult, even at times they were watched and heavily. Look at John Lennon. The FBI were monitoring him left and right. Why? Because he was going to talk out about the Vietnam War. Or not the Vietnam War, sorry. Because he had talked about the Vietnam War. They were worried about the next war. They were worried about the next war he was going to influence talk about. Just like Martin Luther King was killed, probably because of his talk against the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's forces out there. You step out of line, doesn't matter how big of a figure you are, they'll make it look like an accident, they'll make it look like some lone gunman, whatever, you're gone.
And there's one guy that better be careful right now, and I noticed that he's sort of gotten quiet here lately, and that's Robert Kennedy. He was saying some truths out there. And
he still is. I'm a big Robert Kennedy fan.
Yeah, but he apologized, and all of a sudden it's sort
Yeah.
of gone quiet. So these people know that they can't tread too heavily because if they do, an unfortunate accident is going to occur.
Only thing he apologized for recently really was the use, because it was a super PAC that you made the ad, so he didn't actually have control over it. Made the ad of using the old Kennedy ad in it, and he apologized to his family member. But he has not apologized for his stance on COVID. He's not apologized for what they tried to describe as him making anti-Semitic comments, because he wasn't. He has not apologized for that. He stood his ground. He's a great debater. I'm not going to get into politics, but everybody knows where I stand when it comes to RFK Jr. That's my guy.
But when somebody's speaking,
but nobody's your savior. He's not your savior either.
No,
that's what I would say.
Not a one of them.
None of them.
Because they can't. That system is designed for anybody that enters into that arena. And that brotherhood, they are going to document a person in a compromising position. And
that's what the Epstein thing's all about.
If that person turns, and says, hey, I'm not a part of this anymore, well, either an unfortunate accident is going to take place or a big news story is going to come out that, this person engaged in this or whatever.
Character assassination, yeah.
Yes. And isn't it interesting about the list of Jeffrey Epstein, no names are coming out, and they're not going to come out. They're not going to reveal these people in that brotherhood.
I love the RFK story about Epstein, because they tried him and Ghislaine Maxwell, got him on a plane because his wife knew her through the modeling agency, and they were going to try to honeypot him, and he showed up with his kids. And Jeffrey Epstein ended up getting off in Chicago yelling and screaming at Ghislaine Maxwell. And RFK thought they were just a couple fighting. He didn't know that they were yelling about him, because Epstein thought this isn't, I can get a Kennedy in my honeypot scheme or whatever. And he shows up with his kids thinking that, you're going to give us a trip down to Florida. I'll take my family. We're going to have a great time. He had no idea about this. Was like the 90s.
If those names ever came out, that it would fall like a house of cards.
Yeah.
Because I believe that most of them are involved in this. So, and this goes back to Aleister Crowley, and you could take it even further, Madame Blavatsky and Rasputin and all these types of people. But Crowley, his credo was do what thou wills to hold the law. And also in some of his writings, he wrote about doing horrific sexual acts with children, especially
he was a heroin and methadone addict. Yeah, I mean,
but
he was deeply
unspeakable things, and you will gain great power by doing these things. They're following that, and this all goes back. So people say, okay, well, that's the Masonic Brotherhood. That goes to the Illuminati. This is all based on the magic of Solomon. Solomon was the wise king, son of King David. And Solomon became a sorcerer because some of those women, he had many women, some led him away from God, and he became a sorcerer that got demons to do his bidding in building the temple and various other things. And so this whole thing that we see today is based on the magical practices and summonings of King Solomon.
I think it goes back further to the Babylonian religions because
Oh,
if you
of
look at how,
course. You're
if you
right.
look at how, because what happened with the Iraq War,
Yeah.
you know, these soldiers have come out to tell you like I wasn't there to look for weapons of mass destruction or protect even an oil asset. I went in to go grab a bunch of archaeological artifacts for some rich people.
And guess what, Jason? I've helped many soldiers over the years that returned from war in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you would not believe some of the stories they've told me, things like what you just said there, and actually encountering actual demons while on the battlefield and
That's
in
interesting.
submarines and things of that nature as well.
Really? I mean, what you got to think about it. I've always wondered. Oh, that's an interesting topic. We're gonna run out of time, but I think another movie you haven't seen, but one of the Hellraiser movies. Is Clive
I've
Barker's
heard of
version
it. I've
Hell.
never seen it.
But anyways, one of the characters' hell is the battlefields of World War I. The trenches. Like it's perpetual hell. This battle's keeping. You got to think if there's demons lurking anywhere, it's battlefields. I mean, go to Gettysburg. You can feel it. I mean, what these soldiers go through. They're killing. They have to kill to survive. It's the most evil act. It's Cain versus Abel, but it's justified in war, which I don't think is justified. This is evil
And then
beyond
when these
evil.
people come back, some are under attack from demons. Some are so destroyed.
I've seen
that
it.
They can't sleep. They become addicted. And some are still programmed killers. That's just who they are, and they're killing machines.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen how it's changed people when they've come back. And honestly, I believe all wars are manufactured evils. They're all manufactured for higher, powerful
guess who
people.
makes
Get what they want.
money
Even
off
World
of
War
them?
II. World War
Guess
II.
who makes money off of them? The bankers. This is very
banks.
profitable, and so
who's
you
going to
can
build
go all-
Ukraine? Who's already
there
in
you
big
go.
debt? Ukraine. They're already huge. The countries. They're not. What are they fighting for? They don't own it anymore. It's all been bought out. All their farming's been bought out by big banks. They've sold every asset they have. Did you see Zelensky's latest interview? The guy looks like he's all coked up.
Yeah.
And he's like, they go, people will die if we don't get the money from the U.S.
It's all a game. It's all theater. All the world's a stage. We are many players, performers.
Oh, the
and
CIA is. Oh, they have really put on a show with this one, and I directly blame the CIA.
And they continue to do these things because they can, because the people lay down. The people continue to lay down. It all just goes by, and most people, they're so dumbed down they don't even realize what's going on, and it's just it's business as usual.
One of the comments, and I feel you on this too, because I kind of would love to hear a little bit of it. Can you tell us one of the stories a soldier gave you from the battlefield with any concerns demonic?
I wish I could, but there's confidentiality in things like that. Now, if the person said to me, yeah, you can tell my story or whatever, then I would, but no, I without permission, I wouldn't dare say something.
I understand that.
It's so painful and gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I mean, it is absolutely horrible.
Well, you've heard even the Kandahar giant. Have you heard that story from Afghanistan?
And I believe
they ran maybe possible to feel him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about a 12-foot tall,
six-fingered
being, you better believe that's a Nephilim. And I believe the story. I wouldn't doubt it for 1 second. And
I remember Heather Wade got some of that inside information too, and she had L.A. Marzulli. I've had him on to talk about that too. Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, you got to think these. I mean, this is where the jinn came from. This is the land of I've heard one soldier's description of seeing what they thought were demons in one of these places they were told were jinn. Yeah. And they could see the shadows coming across the, weaving their way through. I think this came from.
I absolutely believe it, Jason. 100%. And again, I've helped people in places like Cairo, Egypt. I've helped people that were, and that family was Muslims, and One of the daughters was under demonic possession, and God worked through me to have freed her from it. I've helped people in other countries that did not speak English, and I didn't speak their language. And somehow, by invoking the power of God, he worked through me to deliver those people from evil as well. So it's just absolutely been an amazing journey, and it continues to this day. And I'm just very thankful to God for working through me in this way to help people. But yeah, when we're talking about these soldiers, it's gut-wrenching because they have done things that they just can't reconcile, and especially when it comes to innocent people that they've had to do things. It's very difficult for
It's
them.
evil. It's what war is. It's evil. There is no, and I explain this to my son. I have my youngest son. I know you don't partake in this, but we do in this household. He's said things that make me believe he was a soldier in a past life because he grew up just right on key, anything to do with military soldier right away. I mean, yeah, you say he's 100% boy, but there's some stuff he knew that's just like, what kid would know
He
that?
shouldn't know, yeah.
You're right. And but I talked to him about, like, I let him be a boy. And he has toy guns. Screw off, you don't care, whatever. But I talked to him about it, and I said, war is evil. Killing people is evil. You would never want to be a soldier or be in that position, would you? And I talked to him about it because it concerns me. I don't want my kid to be a soldier.
No.
And look what they're doing now. I mean, they say we are not ready to go to any war. We don't have the numbers anymore. That they can't find able men in this country because there's so much chronic disease. RFK Jr. So much chronic disease in this country.
That's right. I agree with you 100%.
You're right. That most of these men, the kids I know at my work with that are in their 20s, most of them would be disqualified. They have so many damn illnesses.
But this is all by design. Our skies
but then look
have been straight since 1996. And
right.
They
get the chemtrails.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you.
1940s, the 1940s after World War II.
But look what's happening now.
It became a regular daily thing. And 30,000 people a year in America alone die from lung cancer.
But you don't need
smoked a cigarette.
You don't need to spray us. You don't need to spray us because it's also in our food. It's in our water.
Everywhere.
It's in we are exposed to all these toxins from everywhere. In our medicines,
this is how COVID
everything
spread around the world so quickly that it was sprayed in the skies. And
I predicted this. There's a call I made to the Man Cow show in the 90s, late 90s, or was early. And he thought it was weather control, is what he thought that was, the chemical sprays. And I said, I think this is conditioning for some kind of respiratory illness. This is 2000. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, here we are. I hate being right. But what my point is that they'll go to all these lengths to make us sick and ill and all this. But now they don't have an army. And guess what? Well, the borders have been way open for the last few years here, and we got all these able men coming into this country, and they're literally taking those able men and separating them from the children and wives and women and putting them in their own facilities. Why? What are you prepping them for? And they've already said it out loud. They've already said it in Congress. Dick Durbin did. A number of other people have already said it politically out loud that, well, if we grant them, we give them a path to citizenship by serving in the U.S. military. They got their army. Trust me. They are ready. This was a plan. It's
not going to matter anyway because, again, I think in my opinion, the momentous thing that is coming will be this so-called alien invasion, and that's going to change the world, just like 911 did and COVID. So
you might be right.
Phase 3 will come in, and it's going to change the world. And there's a reason why men are being weakened like this in America. There's a reason for it. So if you weaken the people, especially the men, it makes it that much easier to have your way. And so I do believe that when this phase 3 comes in, this so-called alien invasion, and the scripture says in Revelation, when these days come, men's hearts will fail them. People are going to drop dead from heart attacks at what they're going to see.
Now you're going to get me in trouble, but yes.
We're not gonna
but
say
yes
it, but
to all that.
Yes.
Yes to all that.
and do I want it to happen? No. Did I want COVID to happen? No. Did I want 911 to happen? No. But these things happened.
But I also called 9/11 before it happened too, and it wasn't something psychic. It was just seeing where the dice were rolling and where game theory was happening. That we had to be in the middle of the East, and that was going to happen through a terrorist attack on this country.
Well,
and I knew that before 9/11.
I laugh at that because Again, it's all scripted reality.
It is.
Awful funny how nothing like that ever happened before, since it's scripted reality. It happened because it was set up to happen, just like all these other things.
You can tell by the stock market.
Of course. And furthermore, over 3,000 people, 3,500 or so people lost their lives on that day in New York and in D.C. And I find this very interesting as well. Should have been a lot more, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people got warnings, don't show up to work, don't come to work. A lot of people got warnings, don't fly. A lot of people
sold their
Pentagon,
stocks.
Of course, and the people in the Pentagon, that was an empty, renovated area. Yes, some did lose their lives, but it was minimal compared to what it should have been. This is a scripted reality.
It was
They
also
knew
the
exactly
section they were
what
keeping
doing.
all the paperwork on the trillions of dollars they lost in
And
the
that's why
defense
they
budget.
dropped Building 7 too, because there were a lot of sensitive documents in there also, and that gets me as well. Number one, anybody, and look at all the men that have had their careers destroyed because they were architects and engineers that said no.
They came out
These
and
are controlled demolitions. They lost their livelihoods over that. And then to see this Building 7 that wasn't even connected to the other two suddenly just magically drop. And another funny thing, there was a news story, a UK news story, and the person's reporting that Building 7 has dropped, and you see the background.
It's in the background.
Still standing.
Absolutely scripted reality. And these people plan these events out. Oh, we could make a whole show out of this.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I know. I've been
people
big one on
plan
that one.
These events out, and weeks before the event happened, between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. every morning, there was a team of men coming into the buildings, and they were upgrading the buildings with fiber optics wiring. Isn't that interesting how that works? They were wiring those buildings for their controlled demolition and the events that were going to take place.
And there's so many people that have come out and said that's like, you know, this is one thing. Remember Heather Wade? She was with Art. Like, oh no, it was an inside job, and I love her to death. And I told her I disagree with you completely on that because what I knew it was before it was going to happen before it happened. You know, like we disagreed on it, but we're friends. We could disagree. But I honestly, I've said on this show, I predicted it would happen before it happened. Nothing psychic about it. We had to get into the Middle East. We needed an excuse. The Cold War was over. We needed a new way to have endless war. Terrorism was where it's at. Don't tell me they won't play that card again, because they will.
But you know what the biggest thing out of that happened? The worst thing?
Patriot Act?
That's right. That's the worst thing that happened, and that took away...
Yep, we're still dealing with the consequences of it.
We're not under the Constitution. We're under the Patriot Act. People don't understand this, and this is why people say, oh, I have my First Amendment freedom of speech. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Try and speak out about some certain things and see where your First Amendment freedom of speech goes. You'll be ruined. And
also the people can't be held accountable by the law. Look at what John Brennan and them pulled. They lied straight to Congress.
Yeah.
They're totally spying on U.S. citizens. That's what Snowden
They're
revealed.
still
And they
doing
still lied to Congress, and they still lied, and they faced no consequences for that. And they literally broke the law.
So that was the biggest takeaway. Actually, no. Let me retract that. The biggest takeaway from that whole thing, in my opinion, was a ritual sacrifice to the devil of 3,500 plus people on that day. And then the second worst thing was the Patriot Act. I really, truly believe that, because the devil has a bloodlust. And so these people have to make their sacrifices. And boy, oh boy, did they ever. And it changed the world. It's forever changed America. America will never, ever be the same again. And then we go to phase 2, which is the COVID phase. America has not been the same since that. And now,
But that's connected to 9/11 and the Patriot Act. If you look at COVID, because with COVID that came in, boy, we're really getting at the end here.
Yeah.
And read RFK Jr.'s real Anthony Fauci. You'll find this in there. Is that we use the Patriot Act, to basically hone into getting back into biological weapons, making biological weapon warfare. That's what they turned the NIH into, and they used right after 9/11. Remember the anthrax that was sent to 2 different senators? Those 2 different senators were against the Patriot Act. They weren't after they got the anthrax. That was later proven to be only could have been produced in a military weapons testing facility.
Fort Detrick in Maryland.
Fort Detrick in Maryland. So then we get that, and then Anthony Fauci, now he doesn't have the AIDS money anymore, uses that money to basically roll in a whole biological weapons program under the disguise of researching viruses and potential threats. And it's bullcrap. That's what we got. And they're still doing it. I just covered weeks ago how they've turned it into 100% lethal virus. They're still doing it.
You mean
we learned nothing.
The X virus that that's the whispers are starting about that as well.
Yeah.
And so again, it is all scripted reality. So I know we're at the end here, and I want to thank you both. I've really enjoyed being on with you, and thank everybody out there.
Yeah, we could have kept talking. There's so much we can just keep talking about.
My best advice to all of you is to develop a real and authentic relationship with the creator of the universe, Yahweh Elohim, I believe his name to be. And if you do that, then you will have the Melchizedek, the high priest, Yahshua, aka Jesus the Christ, that will come in and guide you on that straight and narrow path back to the Father. Now, in my opinion, that's the only way you're going to be able to navigate these things that are here and the things that are coming. So I am urging you. And plus, when you do this, you're raising your frequency and vibration. So this whole thing is designed and rigged now
exactly
to lower the frequency and vibration of the people, to keep them down, to keep them weak, and to keep them sick, and to keep them sleeping. And that's what this is all about. So please, if you didn't listen to one word I've said or believe one word I said during this whole thing, you can believe this. I'm a living, walking, breathing, talking miracle from God, that he saved my life from utter destruction and then transformed my life and then put this calling on me and put me in this position to be a help to others. So please take my advice and make your real and personal commitment to him and have your real and authentic relationship with him. And I'm not saying that your life's going to become perfect, but what I am saying is when the issues and the situations and the challenges come, he will help you to meet them and overcome them. And for those of you out there that may be in spiritual distress and you feel like you're under attack, please reach out to me. Yes, I'm very busy, but God always has a way of working through me to be able to help people. Go to BillJBean.com. You can email me directly from the site, and I promise you I'll get back to you as quickly as I can and get you scheduled as quickly as I can. So again, Jason, it's been great. I hope that you'll have me back again soon, because we could have rolled for another 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, I know. There's like so much more I wanted to talk to you about tonight, but time went by so fast. I mean, I want to say this closing. Like me and you have different spiritual beliefs, but I'm 100% on you with this, with the idea that they try to keep us in this fear, panicked, and ill mode, because who makes a good decision? Who makes good life decisions when you're panicked, under fear, when you're ill? Nobody does. And you're going to make, and that's what COVID proved. We all, people went along with the bull crap and the stupidity of it because they were afraid. And that's what we need to learn from. We need to learn to resist that fear. Be spiritual warriors like Bill Bean here. Thank you so much, Bill. You are awesome. We got to do this again. We got to get you back on.
God bless you both and your families, and looking forward to the next time, and we'll dive into this all over again.
All right, guys, check out his new book, My Life, Transformations from Victim to Victor. Reverend Bill Bean, thank you so much. Have a great night, guys. We'll be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, with another returning guest that I've had a lot of people ask me to have come back on, is Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 8 p.m. 11 p.m. Pacific time. 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. Those are the times. Check us out live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and on the Paranormal Radio app, where we have the Paranormal Soup radio channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Also, check us out. We're on Patreon. If you check out for Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland, $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever you can help donate to the show. One-time donation does help pay the bills. And thank you to my Patreons out there. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. See you next week.